We have reconvened from our closed session, and I have the following item to report out. By a 5-0 vote, the City Council authorized the City Attorney's Office to initiate litigation in one matter. The name of the defendant and details are not subject to disclosure at this time. Once litigation is filed, this information will be disclosed to any person upon inquiry. So with that, we will adjourn our special meeting at 6:01 p.m. And at this time, I will call to order the Elk Grove City Council regular meeting. Today is Wednesday, January the 28th, 2026. The time is 6:01 p.m. Would our assistant clerk here please read the announcement?
This meeting of the Elk Grove City Council is recorded with closed captioning. The recording will be cablecast on Metro Cable Channel 14, the Local Government Affairs channel on the Comcast and DirecTV U-verse cable systems. The recording will also be video streamed at metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting replays will happen on Friday, January 30th at 1 p.m. and Sunday, February 1st at 1 p.m. on Metro Cable 14. The Elk Grove City Council welcomes, appreciates, and encourages participation in the City Council meeting. The City Council requests that you limit your presentation to 3 minutes per person so that all present will have time to participate. The City Council reserves the right to reasonably limit the total time for public comment on any particular noticed agenda item as it may deem necessary. Pursuant to Resolution Number 2010-24, no individual speaker concerning public comment may address the City Council for more than 3 minutes. If you wish to address the council during the meeting, please complete a speaker card and give it to the Deputy City Clerk prior to consideration of the agenda item.
All right, thank you. Next up is our land acknowledgement. Assisting will be our Vice Mayor.
We need to do roll call.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, roll call.
Mayor Bobby Singh-Allen.
Yes, here.
Vice Mayor Suen.
Here.
Councilmember Robles.
Present.
Councilmember Spees.
Present.
Councilmember Brewer.
Present.
All right, now our land acknowledgement.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. We honor, respect, and acknowledge Elk Grove's first inhabitants, the Plains Miwok, who lived as sovereign caretakers of this land and these waterways since time immemorial. We commemorate and advocate for their descendants, the Wilton Rancheria tribe, the only federally recognized tribe in Sacramento County, who endure because of the bravery, resiliency, and determination of their ancestors, tribal members, and leaders.
All right, thank you. Next up is our Pledge of Allegiance. I would like to invite up our former Rockstar staff members, Mr. Darren Wilson, if you could join us and help leading the pledge this evening.
I'd be honored. Please stand, hand over heart. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please join us for a brief moment of silence. All right, next up is our approval of the agenda. May I get a motion?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Next up is our closed session.
There are no closed session items on the regular agenda.
All right, thank you. Next up.
We
is-
have item 4.1, proclamation in recognition of Black History Month.
All right, excellent. I would like to call forward the Black Youth Leadership Project and President and CEO, Lorene Pryor. Would you please join us up here? And yes, please bring everyone. All right. Black History Month, February 2026. Whereas since 1976, February has been designated as Black History Month as a time in which especially memorable events are recognized and celebrated, honoring and affirming the importance of African American history and culture as an essential element to the foundation of American history. The theme for Black History Month 2026, A Century of Black History Commemorations, explores current conversations and reminds us that Black history continues to play a crucial role in advancing equality. And whereas Black Youth Leadership Project empowers students, and families to overcome educational barriers and champion equity through culturally responsive advocacy, peer support, and civic engagement. Whereas the Black Youth Leadership Project, led by President and CEO Lorene Pryor, is a valued community collaborator of the Elk Grove Police Department and has worked with the department on several projects, including a Thanksgiving giveaway event providing turkeys and gift cards to Elk Grove families in need. And whereas Black Youth Leadership Project and the Elk Grove Police Department are united by a steadfast commitment to mutual support, open communication, and shared initiatives, from supporting families to celebratory graduations that reflect a continued commitment to partnership, trust, and meaningful engagement for the betterment of Elk Grove families. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Elk Grove hereby affirms and proclaims February 2026 as Black History Month in the City of Elk Grove, and we thank Black Youth Leadership Project for its dedication to empowering Elk Grove youth development and partnering with the City of Elk Grove. Signed today. Congratulations.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
First, I'd like to thank Mayor Bobby Singh-Allen and Vice Mayor Darren Soon and the council for this proclamation. As you can see, I'm a little under the weather, so I'm not going to get too close to you. But I would also like to thank our Chief of Police, Bobby Davis, who I call him Bubba because he told me to, but that's Santa Chief because he's played Santa for our kids and just my overall boo. He makes it easy to partner with him in his department. For so long, there have been tensions when it came to police departments and community programs who offered support specifically to Black children. It has been hard to build relationships in other places, but in Elk Grove, he has made it extremely easy, and we are internally grateful for that. Although we are Black Youth Leadership Project, we serve all the children here. We advocate for all the children here. Unfortunately, Elk Grove is known as the place where they suspend and expel more Black students. So we have a place here, and we thank you for this proclamation, and we hope that we can continue the partnership. Thank you.
All right, let's all go down there. We're going to present this to you. All right, I'm going to squeeze in somewhere here. Give this to you. All right, and then we're all going to squeeze, get real comfortable, and look this way.
I mean, but is my hair okay? Because I feel like I'm
So I want to thank you, Lorene, for all of the great work that you continue to do, but especially for the Elk Grove Unified School District, where I had the pleasure of working alongside her to close the achievement gap, but more importantly, to change policies back then that we worked on together that made a big difference. And those administrative policies, because we saw a disproportionate number of our Black youth, particularly young boys, not only getting expelled, but the suspensions. So thank you for continuing to be a voice and a champion. This woman works very hard. Last week, I saw her at the Monterey Trails High School, back to school, or what, it was open house night. And she was there as a champion and an advocate for the students. So she does this in addition to her day job. So she works, no, you work many jobs. She has many hats. She has many hats. And so if you have a chance to meet with her, you'll feel the passion, the anger, the frustration.
I'm a little more mellow.
You're more mellow. But thank you for all that you do in serving all students. Thank you. Congratulations.
That takes us to item 4.2, our new hire introductions.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council, Jason Behrman, your city manager. We always like the opportunity to present our new employees and those receiving promotions and advancements. So we're going to start with our police department. These are everybody that's either started or been promoted within the last quarter. So Chief Bobby Davis.
Yeah, there we go. All right. Oh, goodness gracious. So we will start with Shelby Terrazas. Hi, how are you? Good, how are you? Shelby was born and raised in Stockton and now resides in Galt. Prior to joining the Elk Grove Police Department, Shelby worked as dispatcher for Stockton Fire and Stockton PD. While away from work, she enjoys traveling to Lake Tahoe in Southern California. Thank you. Thank you. Jared Houston. Jared came back to us on December 1st. Jared was born and raised in the Bay Area, graduated from Cal Poly San Luis. Prior to joining Cal Poly Humboldt, is that what you said? No, okay. Prior to joining EGPD, Jared spent 5 years with the Placer County Sheriff's Office. He actually left here and then came back to us. We're very lucky to have Jared back. While away from work, he enjoys reruns of The Office and dog training. Sarah DePay. Sarah joined EGPD on March 27th, 2011. Prior to her promotion, she served as a homeless outreach officer in our POP unit. Sarah currently oversees our graveyard patrol team. Every morning, Sarah would walk the bridge over here and make sure that the folks who needed help got help. She was wonderful, one of our hot officers. So, thank you. Yeah. Police records tech, Hannah Nimsanga. Hannah joined EGPD on June 19th, 2022 as a records tech. She is tasked with training our new records technicians, and they are extremely busy in there, so thank you. Shakira Harper. Police records tech, Shakira Harper. Police records tech 2, Shakira Harper, advanced on November 16th. Shakira joined EGPD on June 24th, 2019 as a customer service specialist at our animal shelter. She transferred to our records bureau in 2022. As a records tech 2, she is also tasked with training our new records technicians. Welcome. Stacy David. Senior animal care technician Stacy David promoted on November 30th. Stacy joined EGPD April 8th, 2024 as a senior animal care tech. She's the lead for our animal care team. While away from work, Stacy enjoys dog training, hiking, and being outdoors. And we appreciate your support. Jalen Woods, Officer Jalen Woods. Jalen was born in Sacramento and attended John F. Kennedy High School. Prior to joining EGPD, he worked over 10 years with CDCR. Jalen is a car enthusiast and has had numerous project cars over the years. He recently graduated the Sacramento Police Academy and is currently in field training. Teresa Leahy. Teresa started with Animal Services in February of 2024. She became a full-time employee animal care assistant in December of 25. She graduated from San Francisco State University with a degree in environmental services. And welcome. That's all we have.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council, Kara Reddick, Deputy City Manager. I'm excited to introduce Mandy Bustamante, Risk Management Specialist, who joined the city on November 17th, 2025. Mandy has worked in the insurance industry for the past 9 years, and she's lived in this area for most of her life. Mandy is very appreciative of the opportunity to work for the city. Outside of work, Mandy enjoys reading and traveling, and she's preparing for an upcoming trip to Brazil. So, thank you. I'd like to introduce Charles Wilson, our Community Center Coordinator at District 56. He also started on November 17th, 2025. Charles has nearly 17 years of experience in the private sector rental, recreation, and entertainment industries, and transitioned to the public sector in 2023 as a recreation coordinator for the city of Rockland. Charles holds a bachelor's degree in government from Sacramento State and a master's of public administration from California Baptist University. Outside of work, Charles enjoys refurbishing vintage furniture, fishing, and playing basketball, and he's excited to work for the city.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council members. I'm Mariam Hussain, the Interim Human Resources Director, and I am very pleased today to introduce the newest member of our HR team, Charlene Castillo, who's joined us as an Administrative Assistant 2. And while Charlene might be new to the HR department, she's actually not new to the city. Charlene has been working with the city since June 2019. She started as an animal care technician / specialist at the animal shelter, and she worked her way up to being a senior animal care specialist. And then just recently, she's joined our team, and she's providing exceptional administrative support to the core HR functions. We really look forward to the contributions that Charlene's going to make in the upcoming several years, hopefully, to the HR department. And outside of work, Charlene actually enjoys outdoor adventures and watching scary movies. So welcome to the team, Charlene. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Nicole Guttridge, your Chief Information Officer, and I am excited to introduce you to Sai Munjeti, our new network engineer. Sai graduated from the University of Alabama in Birmingham 4 years ago, and she recently moved here from New Jersey, so she made a large trek to come to Elk Grove and join our team. She used to work for Tokyo Electron, where she was part of the network infrastructure team, handling network monitoring, troubleshooting, and connectivity issues. She's been with us now for 2 months, so we're still deep into training and teaching her all about Elk Grove. And Sai's going to be working on swapping out our firewalls coming up here, some other upgrades, access points, switches, and network monitoring. And Sai's getting to learn about Elk Grove and is excited to venture out on some of our trails. And we're just thrilled to have you as part of our team. So welcome and thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council members. Raj Prasad, Finance Director. First up, we have Brian Lopez Soto. He's our new purchasing specialist, started with us on October 13th, 2025. Brian was born and raised in Los Angeles and graduated from California State University, Chico in 2021. He's a lifelong soccer fan with hopes of attending a World Cup match someday and is also an animal lover, having owned everything from dogs and cats to a ball python. Welcome, Brian. Next, we have Maricela Home. She started with us as the customer service representative on December 22nd, 2025. Maricela was raised in Elk Grove and is a graduate of Elk Grove High School. She recently earned a degree in environmental policy analysis with a specialization in city and regional planning from UC Davis. She now joins the finance department in the cashier's office and is excited to serve the city of Elk Grove. This one's a promotion, Jenny Tar, from customer service representative to senior customer service representative, effective November 2nd, 2025. Jenny's a long-term Elk Grove resident and member of Franklin High School's first graduating class. She's currently pursuing a bachelor's degree in accounting. In her free time, she enjoys exploring local trails and restaurants with her husband and 2 sons. Welcome.
All right, good evening. Christopher Jordan with Community Development. I have a few folks I'm very excited to introduce and bring into our team. First up is Leslie. Leslie's joined us in October 6th. She is one of our 2 new associate engineers in the Development Engineering Division. She comes to us with extensive experience in Elk Grove as a consultant for the last 23 years, working in development projects, primarily with improvement plan review and more recently with entitlement review processing. She is a mom to 4 children. 2 are in college and 2 are in high school. And in her free time, she enjoys traveling, hiking, and swimming. So welcome aboard, Leslie. Next up is Angelica. She is our new administrative assistant, also in the Development Engineering Division. She started in November of last year. She, prior to that, spent about 6 years working as a consultant, including Elk Grove as one of her clients. She's continuing to support the division with contract management and other administrative functions, and also serves as our Planning Commission clerk. Angelica is a Elk Grove native and is raising her family here in town, including 4 kids. Her eldest works locally, her twins are in college, and the youngest is a sophomore in high school. Some of her hobbies include playing indoor soccer, entering lowrider car shows, watching her kids play sports, and of course, spending time with family and friends. So welcome aboard. There he is. Next up is Jojo. He is our 2nd associate engineer, joined us on November 17th, comes to us with a background in private development and traffic engineering. Prior experiences included the City of Sacramento and the City of West Sacramento, and in his free time enjoys traveling and experiencing different cultures. So welcome, Jojo. Thank you. Last on our engineering side is Alvin. Comes to us with 7 years' experience working for the City of Fairfield in a similar role, overseeing private development and performing plan reviews and entitlement reviews. Prior to Fairfield, Alvin spent 4 years as a design engineer for consulting firms. He is a local resident and enjoys spending time at home with his wife and 2 dogs, and for fun is getting into DIY home improvement and is enthusiast for enjoying hiking. Do remember, building permits are required. Welcome out. Thank you. And we do have 2 advancements in our code enforcement division. The first up is William, who's worked for Elk Grove. Where'd you go, William? Oh. Okay, my lists are backwards. Sorry, gentlemen. Okay, so William's worked for Elk Grove for 2 years and is recently promoted to the Code Enforcement Officer 2 position. Previously, he was with City of Sacramento as a parking enforcement officer. He enjoys Taekwondo, brewing beer on his free time, and gardening. He also enjoys spending time with his family, his daughter, Laney, thank you. Son Gotham and wife Laura. William and his wife also own their own baking business, Better with Butter, and I can attest to the quality of the baked goods. So, welcome, William. All right, and last up is Troy. Troy has also worked for us for about 2 years and was recently promoted to the Code Enforcement Officer 2 position as well. I previously worked with MCE in Rancho Cordova, where he assisted with various construction projects. He enjoys weightlifting, running, hiking, and traveling with his family. Congratulations.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm Jeff Warner, Public Works Director. First up, we have Adam A.J. Beams. Adam joined the city on December 1st, 2025 as a maintenance specialist in our landscape maintenance team. He comes to the city of Elk Grove as an accomplished landscape business owner and a graduate of the Cosumnes River College horticulture program. His experience and knowledge of horticulture have been quoted by the publication of Home and Garden. In his spare time, AJ enjoys yoga, tennis, swimming, paddleboarding, audiobooks, and hiking. You pack any more in there for you?
A couple more if you need them.
Welcome aboard. Next up, we have Fernando Baldovino. Fernando joined our team on December 29th, 2025, so coming up on his 1-month anniversary here. He is a fleet maintenance technician. He graduated from UTI in 2010 with certifications in automotive, diesel, and smog. He is also a certified emergency vehicle technician. He comes to us after working previously for Sacramento County. Thank you, Sacramento County. And Fernando loves being outdoors. Mr. Hume, I see you back there. Loves being outdoors, camping with his family, and attending his children's soccer games. Thank you. Next, we have Brian Stoddard. This is a promotion and one we're very proud of. I'm very proud of Brian myself. On November 2nd, 2025, Brian was promoted to our facilities maintenance supervisor. He has 15 years of experience in facilities working right here for the city of Elk Grove. He brings extensive institutional knowledge and a strong dedication to public service. Outside of work, Brian enjoys boating and camping, working on his classic cars, and is an avid fan of the Sacramento Kings and San Francisco Giants. Hopefully one of those comes through for you. Next, we have Eugene Garcia. Eugene advanced from a Public Works Inspector 1 in our capital maintenance group to a Public Works Inspector 2 on November 2nd, 2025. He started with the City of Elk Grove in 2024 and has a strong background in various construction engineering roles and specializes in asphalt paving, concrete, soils, asphalt coring, and investigations. He's a dedicated father and husband and likes spending family time hiking, kayaking, and taking family road trips. Welcome. Congrats, Eugene. Next is Abid Mahmood. Another promotion on November 2nd, 2025, Abid promoted to maintenance specialist. He started with the City of Elk Grove in January 2025 as a landscape maintenance technician, focused on servicing District 56. Since joining the city just over a year ago, Abid has obtained his commercial driver's license and qualified water efficient landscape certification and continues to grow in his role servicing landscaped areas throughout the city. In his spare time, Abid enjoys spending time with his family, working on his mini homestead, raising chickens, and growing vegetables. Look forward to some of that growth. And I have one more for you who was unfortunately not able to join us this evening. Josue Ruiz advanced in November from Maintenance Technician 1 to Maintenance Technician 2. He is a member of our drainage maintenance team and has been with the City of Elk Grove for over 2 years and came from the City of Stockton within the Streets Division where he performed street work and sign work. During his free time, he enjoys spending quality time with his family as well as watching Green Bay Packer games. Thank you.
Congratulations to all of our promotions, advancements, and welcome to Elk Grove to our new hires. All right, so with that, we're going to move on to our next item, which is public comment. At this time, I will go ahead and open up the public comment opportunity. We will start with Kara Lack, followed by Becca Smithhart.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Kara Lack, and I'm here representing Musical Mayhem Productions, a youth nonprofit theater company in Elk Grove. Recently, some of our students traveled to the Junior Theater Festival in Atlanta, an international theater event with over 140 groups from around the world. And they came home with a win for excellence in music. A nice big trophy, too. That honor belongs to young people from this community who worked hard, supported each other, and proved that Elk Grove talent belongs on a national stage. Youth theater, as we know, is more than performance. It builds confidence, teamwork, discipline, and a sense of belonging, especially for kids who may not always find their voice elsewhere. When we invest in the arts, we invest in our future leaders, storytellers, and citizens. We would love to invite each of you to attend an upcoming Musical Mayhem production and see firsthand what these students can do. Coming up soon, they have their 4 to 10-year-olds performing in Annie Kids this weekend, and their elite program performing in Rent Teen Edition February 20th through the 28th. If you're interested in tickets, you can reach out to AnnMarie@mmp.com. That's her email address, or you can go to the mmpkids.com website. Thank you for your time and for supporting the arts in Elk Grove.
Let's see, our next, yes, thank you.
Hi, my name is Becca Smithhart. I'm here to encourage you to support the arts, particularly the children's art organization, Musical Mayhem Productions, which she just spoke about, or MMP. For my family, this program has been incredibly meaningful. All 4 of my children have participated over the past 10 years, and 2 of my children are still involved today. One of the reasons our family chose to remain living in Elk Grove was because of this particular program that's not found in anywhere else as easily. It provides children and teens with a safe, structured, and creative space where they can build confidence, teamwork, discipline, and communication skills. What makes MMP especially important is the range of opportunities it offers. The upcoming spring shows are Annie, Stuffs, Rent, and Frozen. Shows like Annie and Frozen introduce younger children to theater through family-friendly stories, while productions like Stuff and Rent challenge older youth artistically and emotionally. This allows students to grow with the program year after year. I'd like to invite you to come see these shows. My own kids will be in Rent and Frozen. MMP also places strong emphasis on youth leadership and volunteerism. Older students volunteer as mentors and leaders for younger kids' productions. They learn responsibility and service while giving younger kids positive role models to look up to. This kind of peer leadership builds confidence, accountability, and community connection. My own son is one of these program assistants, and being able to put this on his resume helped him find a job. He got hired at Chick-fil-A when jobs for teens right now are really scarce and kind of hard to find. Programs like MMP benefit the city as well. We bring families. We have lots of people that come to see their shows. And it's a really fun tradition to go out to eat or ice cream after a show or before a show. It really just brings the kids together and helps them see support. Even modest support such as access to space, small grants, or city promotion can make a big difference for these kind of programs. For families like mine, MMP is more than an extracurricular activity. It's part of what makes Elk Grove a place we want to stay and invest in. I encourage the city to continue championing the arts and recognize programs like MMP. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Bonnie Stensler, followed by Lynn Wheat.
Good evening, Mayor and Vice Mayor and council members. I'm here this evening because I wanted to publicly thank Sergio. He has quite often come out to Glenbrook. He was just out this past Friday at our coffee clatch, and the residents enjoy talking to him. He answers a lot of their questions. If they ask him to follow up on something, he does that. He gets back to us on it, and I just want to say we really enjoy having him, and it probably doesn't hurt. He also brings bagels, which seems to go over pretty well with them. But again, they're still talking about you and when you're going to come back.
That's
and
cute.
For the rest of the mayor and council members, any of you, you're all welcome. Just get in touch with me. Come on out and join us. Again, thank you for all you do. Thank you, Sergio.
Thank you. You need to bring bagels here. Next up is Lynn Wheat, followed by Carolyn Soares.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here tonight to thank the staff for the tremendous job they did on outreach for our future permanent homeless shelter, which I'm calling the big house, because I don't really like shelter, so I'm calling it a big house. And they put together an absolutely wonderful packet. Now, a friend that went with me, she was concerned because there's glossy flyers on the inside that maybe the staff spent a little bit too much of our money producing this. So I asked a staff person, and during this time we could have rain. And so they prepared it in this manner, anticipating that we might have rain, and they didn't want these packets to get wet. So an easy explanation that made sense to me. What I really want to talk about, though, is the location and the discussion that's gone on. So, of course, there's been some discussion about a couple of sites not being very favorable because they're too close to sensitive areas. So that leaves another site, survey site. I'm really against the survey site for a number of reasons. It is going to isolate our homeless population within the community. These are members of our community. And if we're truly a compassionate city, do we want to isolate at the southern end of our city where there are not the number of resources, though some say that there are? So I want to challenge each one of you because you're going to have to make a difficult decision, and I'm sure that it's going to be an emotionally charged session on February 11th. So I'm challenging you to go to each site, wait for a bus, and see how you can commute around our city. Go to each site, walk to it, and see how close it is to a store or possibly a retail center that you might get a starting job at. Go to it and walk and see how quiet or noisy the streets are or how congested the major roads are, such as Camer, our future grant line that has the traffic. So I think if you do that, then you'll have even more ways to express yourself as how we want to integrate this population within our community. There's many myths about what homelessness looks like, and I was very glad that the staff could address those. I hope that residents will be open in hearing that. I went to all 4 sessions, and I met a lot of people and had some really good discussions around this. And I think that we can work out something, and our big house can be beautiful. The people can be integrated and moved into permanent housing, and we won't set up barriers that make it even more challenging for them to get back on their feet. So again, I hope you accept the challenge. Thank you.
Right on the dot. Thank you. Our final speaker is Carolyn Soares.
Hey everyone, good evening.
Sorry. Can we restart?
Hi, last time I was up here talking to you is regarding, I believe, the development right next door to us on Pleasant Grove School Road. At that time, myself and quite a few other people expressed concerns about the drainage and a number of other issues with the project. I sent you all, I don't know if you received it or not, pictures of our crawl space, which now, well, it doesn't now, but it had 6 inches of water. The developer guaranteed that we would have less drainage on our property or the surrounding parcels with his development than before. We've never had an issue with drainage from that property before. Now we're flooded. We had 6 inches of water. We've got potential major damage to our house once the clay settles and all that. When the development was brought to you guys for approval, the drainage was supposed to go west to east. They changed that. I went to engineering numerous times saying, hey, if you change that like you're proposing to do, how the developer wants it to go from east to west, there's a 100% guarantee it will flood our property. Over and over again, I came to them with that concern, and that was ignored. It was approved. We're flooded. I don't know what counselor the development is going to do to rectify that issue. It's guaranteed to rain pretty soon. I really don't need more water under my house. Friends, neighbors, if anyone has an idea how we can even mitigate it on our side of the property, I'm willing to do that. We just can't have water on our property. We've also had a number of issues with the development where I know that friends and neighbors have been calling code enforcement because of the road that they damaged, the weeds that were higher than our fence, and then the signage that was blocking, in our case, blocking our exit. So it's been quite an issue. Anyway, that's it. And the other, I know Summer Villas, subject change here, Summer Villas is coming up, and I think that would be a great 2-acre estate-sized parcel, not the multi-hundreds of homes that they're looking to put in there. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there staff here have you spoken to staff at all?
Numerous times.
Numerous times. Do you need follow-up?
I certainly am happy to talk to Soares about it. We did receive her email Friday evening and saw the follow-up pictures that she sent today.
Okay.
Staff's been reaching out to the developer for them to resolve the issue since it's related to the construction, and we will keep them in the loop around that process.
Yeah. It's been going on for months.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And there's lots and lots of emails.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you just get back to us on
And let us
that?
know that it's been resolved.
Yeah, we can keep you in the loop.
That would be good. And I don't have anyone signed up. What's showing up on my screen, those two have already spoken.
So
All right.
our next item is general administration.
I'm going to close the public comment, and now we'll go on.
Item number 6, general administration information.
Thank you.
All right, good evening again, Mayor, members of the City Council. A few items to report on this evening. First of all, as has already been mentioned, we had 4 community meetings the last 2 weeks regarding the future permanent homeless shelter and the location. It was a great turnout. We had about over 250 people that showed up. Lots of questions, lots of information. Our staff did a great job explaining everything. Our goal through the whole process, make sure we had a transparent process and something that was engaging and that we're educating the community. And so there is a lot of information on our website. So if people weren't able to attend any of those meetings, I encourage them to go online. There's a video presentation on that, about a 10-minute video that really goes over the same information that we shared at the in-person meetings. There's also a survey that people can tell and give us their ranked order preference on the 3 sites that are currently being considered. And then all that information, all the public comment is going to be gathered up, and we're going to present it to the City Council as part of the February 11th meeting, which you will deliberate on the various site options under consideration. We are open for Elk Grove 101, the next cohort, the spring cohort. This is going to be another morning session. The application period ends on February 8th. So if you're not familiar with Elk Grove 101, it's an immersive 9-session course on Elk Grove's local government, talking all the things that we do as a city to maintain high quality of life in our community. Great opportunity to really engage and meet some of your neighbors to learn about what makes Elk Grove run and what makes Elk Grove as great as it is. It's the program. This next program will run from March 24th. And anyone over 18 that lives in Elk Grove or works in Elk Grove is available and eligible to participate. So I encourage you to go online and sign up for our program. Nominations for the 2026 Stars of Service Awards are being accepted through Wednesday, February 25th. Help us recognize individuals or organizations making Elk Grove a better place to live, work, and play. Award recipients will be recognized at a council meeting in April. Online applications can be found on the city's website at elkgrove.gov/stars of service. And finally, with additional funding, nonprofits can do much more for our community. To support this work, the city offers an annual grant application program providing funding and support to local nonprofit organizations who serve our community. Online applications are being accepted now on the city's website for projects, programs, projects, and events for our next fiscal year. The deadline for our community service grant and our CDBG funding applications is Monday, February 9th, and applications for our event sponsorship grant program close on Friday, February 20th. So go to elkgrove.gov/grants for more details. I encourage you to understand how that program works and opportunities to fund all these great programs. And that concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions the council might have.
All right, thank you for your report. Any questions or comments? Looking to the left, seeing none. To the right, seeing none. Thank you. All right, with that, we will move on to our next item, our consent calendar items. At this time, I will open up public comment. I don't have anyone signed up to speak. I will go ahead and close public comment and look for a motion to approve our consent calendar. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And that takes us to our public hearings, item 8.1.
Item 8.1, a public hearing to consider an ordinance amending Elk Grove Municipal Code Title 23, Zoning Table 23.27-1, allowed uses and required entitlements for base zoning districts to allow outdoor event center use in the agricultural residential zoning districts, AR10, AR5, AR2, and AR1, with certain parameters and a resolution approving a conditional use permit and conditional use permit amendment for the Bartholomew Winery Amendment Project. No further environmental review necessary.
Sorry, just pulling up the PowerPoint.
Those were last week.
Good evening, Mayor, Council Members, Sarah Kirsch-Gessner, Planning Division. The Bartholomew Winery Amendment Project consists of a request for a text amendment to the Elk Grove Municipal Code, Title 23 zoning, to allow outdoor event center use with approval of a conditional use permit within the agricultural residential zoning districts within certain parameters, as well as a new conditional use permit to allow an outdoor event center use with up to 18 events per year, an amendment to the previously approved conditional use permit to expand the hours of operation for wine tasting and allow additional winery events up to 48 events per year. The project also includes a request to allow amplified music and sound on the project site. The project site is a 10-acre parcel located within the Eastern Elk Grove Community Plan area. The parcel is currently developed with 2 single-unit residential dwellings, a 3,200 square foot wine storage, wine production warehouse, and 4 acres of vineyard. The project site is surrounded by residential uses to the south and west, vacant commercial land to the north, and commercial and institutional uses to the east. Some background information for you regarding the project site. In 2019, the Planning Commission approved the original conditional use permit to allow for the establishment of the wine production facility for the winery, with 5 special events per calendar year for activities associated with the winery. And then in 2021, the Planning Commission approved an amendment to that conditional use permit to allow on-site wine tasting, as well as expanding the number of special events associated with the facility from 5 to 24 events per year. The zoning code does not currently allow outdoor event center use in the agricultural residential zones, based on previous council direction. The Planning Commission reviewed the item on November 6th. Public comments were received in writing before the meeting and in person at the meeting, as well as a petition regarding the project. They identified concerns related to noise, as well as the expansion of the operations and events on the project site. A request was also made from the public that the proposed zoning code amendment include an exemption that would carve out the defined rural area from the outdoor event center allowed use area in order to maintain the current prohibition on event centers in the rural area. Based on residents' concern regarding the amplified music and number of events, the Planning Commission ultimately recommended a reduction in the number of permitted events compared to the applicant's request as shown here on the screen. The Planning Commission voted 4-1 with Ocon opposing to recommend City Council approve of the project as revised. Here is the existing site detail. The existing warehouse building and the outdoor seating area are shown here in the central area of the site. The project site's general plan land use designation is estate residential and the zoning district is AR1. The project includes an amendment to an existing winery use in the ag res zone, which is surrounded by other commercial sites on the north and east sides. The on-site wine tasting and special events will be associated with the existing winery, which is an agricultural use that will continue to add to the diverse local economy. The applicant is requesting approval of the text amendment, as mentioned, to allow outdoor event center uses in the ag res zones with those certain parameters. The defined for outdoor event center, it's currently defined in the zoning code, and it means outdoor facilities for public assembly and group entertainment other than sporting events, including facilities for weddings, live theater, and concerts and similar entertainment. The proposed text amendment would allow that within those zones, AR10, AR5, AR2, and AR1, with approval of a conditional use permit with the following parameters. The parcel would need to be, or a combination of parcels, that is a minimum of 10 gross acres in size. It would need to have direct primary public access from one or more major arterials as defined in the general plan. It would need to be ancillary to an approved winery or agricultural tourism use on the site, and as recommended by the Planning Commission, outdoor event center use would be permitted on AR sites in the rural community plan area. With the proposed parameters above and the conditional use permit process in place for a parcel and review of the site features for specific projects on a case-by-case basis, that would give staff the ability to review projects on a case-by-case basis. The current project includes an amendment to the previously approved conditional use permit to expand the hours of wine tasting, allow additional winery events, as well as that new outdoor event center use, and amplified sound and music. And I'll go through these one by one. For the expansion of the wine tasting, the Planning Commission previously permitted that use, and the applicant requests that the hours of operation be expanded from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. For the typical winery events, these are events for marketing and fundraising for the winery, such as wine tours, winemaking dinners, blending seminars, harvest experiences, and dinners in the vineyard. The current conditional use permit allows 24 events per calendar year with a maximum of 50 people in attendance. The applicant is requesting to add an additional 24 events for 40 events total, and expanding the number of people from 50 people to 125 people in attendance, and no changes proposed to the currently allowed hours of operation. For the outdoor event center use, the applicant is requesting a new conditional use permit to allow up to 18 events per calendar year from 11 a.m. to 10 o'clock p.m. with 125 people in attendance Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays only. Staff analyzed that request based on the parameters that I noted for the outdoor event center use, and the project is compliant with those parameters in terms of being located along an arterial as well as the size requirements and outside of the rural community plan area. Because the project included a request to allow amplified music and sound on the project site, a noise study was prepared for the project, analyzing the proposed amplified sound to verify compliance with the general plan policies and standards, as well as the Elk Grove Municipal Code Chapter 6.32 noise control. And the noise consultant conducted noise level measurements during amplified music simulation at the winery, as well as during an amplified music event at the winery. This exhibit shows the stage location, shown in red in the central location of the site, as well as the location shown in yellow, which I'll refer to as the reference position. That's the yellow triangle in the central of the site, and the 4 survey locations located adjacent to the residential properties to the west and south. Per the municipal code, the daytime standards from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. is 50 decibels, and it does allow an increase of 5 decibels when the ambient is less than 60 but greater than 50 decibels. Here is the summary of the average noise level during the simulated event as compared to the ambient for the 4 simulated events. The noise study found that the noise levels for all of the events are predicted to be within compliance of the city's exterior noise standards, and the noise study included recommendations to ensure compliance with the noise standards, and these were incorporated into the project's conditions of approval. And based on the neighbors' concerns identified at the Planning Commission meeting, as well as outreach meeting that the applicant held, the applicant did propose some revisions from their original request as reviewed by the Planning Commission. Specifically, they're proposing that all amplified music sound end at 8 o'clock p.m. for the on-site wine tasting and typical winery events, and at 9 o'clock p.m. for the outdoor event center events. So that's shown there in bold, along with the summary of the proposed outdoor events, typical winery events, and wine tasting hours of operation. And amplified music during the wine tasting portion would be limited to 75 decibels at the reference point and 85 decibels at the reference point for the events. Staff also worked with the applicant on additional conditions of approval to further address some of these noise concerns. These include restrictions on bass enhancing equipment, except during the events, requiring the applicant to keep a log of events with audio level measurement information that the city could request. Additionally, requiring the applicant to publish contact information on their website to receive any feedback and complaints. Based on the characteristics of the operation, the proposed conditions of approval from the noise study, as well as these additional conditions of approval, and the compliance with city standards. Staff supports the applicant's request as proposed and believes the project would not be detrimental to the public health and safety of the residents and adjacent uses. There is no further environmental review required. The project is consistent with CEQA guidelines 15162 and 15183 and the general plan environmental impact report. Staff recommends that the City Council find no further environmental reviews required, adopt an ordinance for the proposed text amendment, and approve the conditional use permit and conditional use permit amendment. Thank you.
All right, thank you. At this time, I will declare that the public hearing is now open and invite the applicant or representative to come and speak.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. If you don't know already, I'm Darren Wilson with Wilson Land Development Solutions. I represent the applicant on this amendment. I first would like to thank CJ's team for helping us through this, and Jason Hone and Antonio Ablog, and especially Sarah, getting us through this process. So they were very helpful. We're before you tonight for an amendment of my client's CUP to help attract more business and expand their business model, making it more viable for the future. The winemaker and I have had extensive conversations that the tasting room in itself over time is not sustainable for viability of the business. So hence tonight's request. So tonight's request is intended to meet the needs of my client in a longer term as opposed to piecemealing amendments, which can be lengthy and quite costly. All conditions placed on the amendment are supported by staff and are consistent with the city's general plan and Elk Grove Municipal Code, and the applicant agrees to all of the conditions that's published in the staff report. Therefore, we respectfully accept or ask the council to accept this amendment tonight to further promote and support small businesses, to promote ag tourism and a sense of community, and further diversify the local economy. We have the team available and intends to answer your questions, any questions you may have, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. At this time, I will open up the public comment opportunity. Our first speaker is Catherine McLean, followed by Chandler Bender.
Good evening. I'm here as a representative of some of the neighbors, and I hate to speak against a winery because I love to go to wineries and drink wine, so I have no problem with the concept of the business. I appreciate what the winery has done in working with the Planning Commission to try to address our concerns. I'm still very bothered by the 66 events that they're proposing instead of 48. I was a little shocked at 48, and the fact that the amplified music can go any night of the week. It's not just in their proposal, their counter proposal, limited to the weekends. And then for people, there are some people who live there with small children, even having amplified music stop at 9 is still kind of an imposition on their quality of life and the value of our homes. I don't live backing onto the winery. I live across the street, and they have not supposed to have been having amplified music, but I can tell you I've heard it on Friday and Saturday nights in my backyard. And I understand that once you have an event, it's hard to police the people because they're your clientele. They're posting a review of whether you want to have your site. So I do have some concerns about their ability to follow up on that, and I do appreciate what the Planning Commission and what they've agreed to do to help address those concerns. But I would ask you to consider the 66 and maybe go back to the Planning Commission's recommendation for 48 events. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Chandler Bender, followed by David Benedetti.
Good evening, City and Council members.
My name is Chandler Bender, and I'd like to speak tonight regarding the Bartholomew Winery project. I want to begin by saying that I value the Bartholomew Winery and what it adds to our community. My family and I, along with many of my neighbors, are actually members and supporters of the winery. We want to see this local business thrive and remain part of Elk Grove's small business community. That said, it's important that the growth happens in a way that respects the neighborhood around it. The issue here is simple. The winery wants to expand its business, and the surrounding community wants to maintain the peace and quiet that has made our neighborhood such a great place to live. I believe there's a fair and workable compromise. Bartholomew Winery should be allowed to host as many events as they would like, as long as those events do not include amplified music. This would allow them to hold corporate team building functions, private dinners, smaller gatherings that support their business without disrupting the nearby families and neighborhood. For larger celebrations like weddings, I believe amplified music should be held indoors where it won't carry into our homes and into the night. I have a young family with 3 small children, ages 5, 3, and 1, and I actually live less than a football field away from where the speakers are normally held for the amplified music. It's like 200 and something feet. So we are literally neighbors. We share a fence together. When events with amplified music have gone on in the past, in past reasonable evening hours, it has made it difficult for my kids to sleep and has disturbed the peace that our neighborhood has enjoyed for more than 2 decades. I worry that approving this project as it stands could lead to more of that in the future. We all want to see Bartholomew Winery succeed, but success shouldn't come at the expense of the quality of life for dozens of local neighboring families. This proposal that I am saying offers balance. It supports local business growth while ensuring that residents, especially families with young children, can continue to enjoy their homes without late night noise and disruption. I respectfully ask the council to consider this compromise. It's fair, it's practical, and it protects both the winery's future and the well-being of the people who live nearby. Thank you for your attention and listening to the concerns of the community.
Thank you. Next up is David Benedetti, followed by Pamela Benedetti.
Okay, good evening. I'm here to encourage you to approve the conditional use permit. I've looked at the various documents in the Planning Commission and the sound level study, and sound follows a fairly basic principle called the inverse square law, which in layman's terms, it basically means that for every doubling of distance, the sound level is going to decrease by a factor of 4. So it's not a linear subject, but looking at the consultant's sound level study and the proposal by the Bartholomew Winery amendment, it certainly appears from the sound level consultants that they can meet the noise ordinance requirements within the city and at the property boundaries. And there's also that inverse square law does not take into consideration other things that will attenuate that sound, such as buildings and the vineyard and the masonry walls that back up alongside the residence. So with that being said, I would, and it does look like compliance is very, very doable, with the conditions with the conditions that are stated in the conditional use permit. So I would encourage you to approve that permit. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Pamela Benedetti, followed by Pam Donnelly.
I want to thank the council for the opportunity to express my thoughts on this issue. My husband's somewhat modest. He worked for over 30 years as a certified industrial hygienist, and part of his responsibilities were sound monitoring, so he knows what he's talking about. I'll start with that. My husband and I have lived in Elk Grove for over 40 years. We raised our children here, and we are members of the Christopher Sellers Wine Club, and we're also immediate neighbors. We live almost directly across the street from the winery, across Elk Grove Boulevard in the Clark Farms development. Our backyard faces the winery. And I want to first address the sound concerns. We have never once heard any sound inside of our homes, even though we're in the direction of the amplified music. And in our backyard, when we can hear the music, it is so faint we can't tell what the song is. So that's a real life experience for you. I also want to sing the praises of the wonderful business that they've developed there. And the live music is part of that business. It's a business that's more than just tasting wine and buying wine. It's a place for neighbors to gather, and mostly on Friday nights, to listen to music, which is mostly ended in a reasonable hour, 7:30, 8 o'clock. And they have sponsored local music artists. We dance, we laugh, we eat, we gather with friends and family. We meet new people. I can't tell you the number of people that I've met there at the winery who have become good friends. Over the last few years, the winery has hosted such events as yoga, craft fairs, harvest festivals, local artists, vinoculture, education seminars, and a salsa competition. And all of these events bring community members together and support the economic growth of the city and the well-being of the citizens. I don't think we could ask for better neighbors than Christopher Sellers. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Pam Donnelly, followed by Michael Manaski.
Good evening. First of all, I guess I'd get up here first. I would like you to review the map that shows the subdivision that is directly behind the winery. And that distance, as Chandler mentioned, is less than a football field. The music and the noise is so loud, it's like, how would you like to have football games every day, 3 days a week, 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock until 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night? You know how loud a football game is. That's what we will be facing with this amplified music continually. The sound study, I think, was flawed. I was in my backyard at the time they did it, and I do feel it was flawed. If you go into research, 85 decibels of music is the limit that OSHA establishes to cause hearing problems. Anything 85 and above requires hearing protection. Hearing 85 dBs for 8 hours can cause permanent hearing loss and damage, and it is cumulative. You know about people who've gone to concerts, heard the music come out, they can't hear. Well, if we're sustaining music that's starting at, what are they saying, 10 o'clock in the morning? Or 11, going till 10 o'clock at night, we do not have the opportunity. We can't put hearing protection on. We can't enjoy our backyards. We can't enjoy the serenity. All of us have been here for the majority. I brought in a petition to the Planning Commission of 43 signatures of residents along that area, all opposing the music, saying they cannot hear themselves speak in the backyard. You have to come in the house, close the door to block out the noise. It's a nice summer evening. We shouldn't have to lock ourselves in our houses in order to enjoy our family life outdoors, or even in the house. I strongly suggest that, I need to find my notes, that you review CDC's recommendations, and it says here specifically, exposure, and this is straight from CDC, National Institute of Health. Exposure to 85 decibels for 8 hours is the threshold where it is, if exceeded in duration, permanent damage begins. What's going to happen to our children over all the weeks, the months, the years that they are subjected to this noise, which is only going to be increasing? I don't think the health of our children and our families is being taken into effect. Am I out of time?
Ma'am.
Okay, in
Thank you.
conclusion,
ma'am, your time is
I have
actually
one
up.
thing to say. Are you willing to prioritize
Ma'am, your time is
profit
up.
over people?
Thank you. Next up is Michael Manaski.
The answer to that was yes.
Imagine if, well, as I'm speaking here right now, you were distracted by a vacuum cleaner. You know, if I had a vacuum cleaner running right here, right now, that's 70 decibels. Okay, 70. So if I ran the vacuum cleaner, do you think you'd be able to hear me? You might be able to understand me a little bit better than you would think, but at the same time, you'd be really annoyed by the noise. Alvin Dorsey Bartholomew famously supported cityhood for Elk Grove. I wonder what sort of neighbor he'd be today, blasting amplified music from his outdoor party center every weekend into his neighbors' backyards. I think not. Instead, I think he'd take a softer approach. Sure, have a wine tasting room, but shuttle the drinking patrons to the new $12 million pavilion center on the tracks at Old Town. Make the events free to the public. Engage local talent and make them alcohol free. The basement of the Methodist Church is his namesake, where every Saturday morning, 50 or more people, 63 last Saturday, 63, broke bread, sipped coffee, and enjoyed a hot meal. I play the piano in counterpoint to the conversations between toddlers, children, teens, adults, the elderly, and many who are down in their luck. Some are alcoholics who use the basement room at other times for AA meetings. To me, the Bartholomew legacy is in that cool, inviting underground space where everyone is invited without question or charge, and no threat is made to their sobriety.
All right, thank you. That concludes our public comments on this item. So at this time, I will close the public comment opportunity and invite back the applicant or the representative to provide
Thanks for having me
concluding
back.
remarks.
I'm going to address several of the remarks. One, the all night, or the typical winery events all nights of the week. This is an expansion. You know, the winemaker's not going to go out of the gate running with this on even weddings. So those are separate categories. The wedding is a outdoor event center, which is more of a larger scale entertainment venue like weddings and concerts. The typical winery event is more like your outdoor Rotary Club luncheon, you know, Elk Grove Chamber luncheon, or celebration parties or birthday parties that are held outdoors. So the 48 is to get us, you know, what they feel is needed for expansion of their business over time. Another comment was no amplification. I will say I did research on probably 8 wineries in the area, and all of them have either event center weddings. Now, some of them weren't near single-family residents, but most of them were that I researched. But all of them had some form of amplification or live music. You know, we cannot even have a microphone for a speaker outdoors if you have a keynote speaker or some type of presentation. We can't even have amplified music indoors based on the permit today. So this is a complete disadvantage for my client against other wineries. There was one comment made about loud. 85 decibels is bad for your hearing. I would 100% agree. It was loud when I was at that reference point, but that favors the applicant, because if it's too loud for people to have a conversation, then that's going to even reduce that standard at the 4 points. So right now it meets and is below the city standard of 50 decibels, with the exception of Bradshaw Road, which is well below the ambient noise ceiling. So one thing I got out of the opposition letters and the proponents is they're in favor for this business. That's a common theme. So we're down to amplification, which I always say sound is subjective, but there's the reason the city has objective standards to sound. Can you imagine code enforcement if we didn't have those? Going out and figuring out what is a nuisance and what is not. So we also have a controlled environment. If you read conditions 14 through 25, they include restrictions on what the applicant has to do to ensure we meet the city's 50 decibel standard, including something that other past use of sound has not used as far as bass equipment, subwoofers, which subwoofers are a very low frequency that can go through walls, and it's different from decibels, but by restricting that to the outdoor event center and typical winery events, including amplified drum kits, we felt that was something we could give that we didn't originally propose. So we're offering that. There's an 8-foot high sound wall. All those houses along both the westerly edge and southerly edge are single story, and that was by deed restriction. I know that because my client used to own that property. So, and with it, we have trees along there as well. So as Mr. Benedenti suggested in his comments, that those absorb those sound waves. The wall, yes, it can deflect, but it dissipates. Not the energy doesn't dissipate. The sound variations in your ear dissipate over time. The energy goes in either air friction, absorbed in the ground, what have you. It's the law of conservation. Energy can be neither created nor destroyed. So those are my comments. I'd happy to entertain any comments or questions you may have.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to declare that the public hearing is closed and turn it over to my council colleagues for questions and comments. You wanted to go first?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mayor. Just because Mr. Wilson's up here. I appreciate what you mentioned, the sound wall bordering the homes on the western edge of the property. In your analysis, have you considered, and I noticed there's quite some space between the winery and the sound wall. Have you considered an earthen berm to further dissipate the noise, and would that be effective?
It probably wouldn't be effective because you'd need to have that earthen berm before you put the sound wall up. The sound wall is already there. So the earthen berm would have to be 10 feet tall to be effective or more effective. The sound wall is effective enough in of itself.
So it wouldn't dissipate further with the earthen berm between it and the trees? You're saying the earthen berm would need to even be higher than the sound wall?
Yeah, sound travels in every direction. So if the earthen berm was 2 feet, maybe it would, those waves hitting that 2 feet would be absorbed, but you still have the waves above that.
Mm-hmm.
That would, ultimately deflect off the wall and dissipate over time.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Councilmember Brewer?
When the sound test was conducted, it looked like there were marks at the borders of the winery and the neighborhood itself. Were there any individuals that were, as part of that test, able to go into the neighborhoods to see how far the ambient sounds were traveling, and to really get a good feel for if it caused that sort of a sound nuisance that would require some sort of special consideration?
Standard practice is typically not to get in the backyards or further past the near sensitive receptor. In this case, they used the sound consultant who couldn't make it tonight used a model used for federal highways to find out what that credit is because the meter was in front of the wall on the applicant side. So it was determined, oh, there's a reduction of 7 decibels. However, I did, at the closest point on the west, I ran based on that logarithmic schedule, and I think the nearest home across the street was 525 feet, and the decibels turned out to be at that location at 85 decibels at 41, well below the city standard. And that assumes a clean environment, no wall, most of those single story, encroach above the wall, obviously, even though they're single story, and then you have the trees. But in a neutral environment with no wall, no trees, no houses, you would still get 41 decibels at that closest one across the street, which is 9 decibels below the city standard.
And that travels well into, because for the neighborhood directly behind the winery, you do have a street with a cul-de-sac, and the noise or the sound would waft over, but some of it will dip into, especially if there's any sort of windy day or current that would dip into those areas. Does the sound, and with the sound wall, the trees, does that reduce the decibel levels even more the further west it travels from that direction?
It would. Weather does play a factor, so does, humidity. A foggy day, foggy night, sound's not going to travel as far. A clear night, this happened to be the 5 ambient days he did the recordings. Those were beautiful days. I helped set the meters. I was sweating. It was a, April day, nice and hot, so the days were nice and clear. So we feel we have good information, but we stand by, the information he provided. And I honestly think just the wall as attenuation was considered. The landscaping, even along that wall, was not considered. So it could even be less than or more than a credit of 7 decibels.
And then you have, as part of the conditions of approval, you have 39 conditions of approval, and from 14 to 25 are very descriptive of the requirements, especially the part where a log would be counted for each day, for each incident, for whoever's performing at the winery. All of that information is recorded down. And so looking at that, that's a sort of accountability measure that is not wired into other agreements, which kind of definitely implies where what happens here is not applicable to the other establishments to the north in the rural area.
That's correct. It's probably the most controlled environment from a winery with amplified music in this area, I could say for certain. One of the conditions is the bass. I talked about the bass. There's another condition about getting a qualified sound meter that meets those American standards. And I'm working with Chris, the winemaker, on the ones that can record over time and date stamp and provide that log and record of those typical winery events and outdoor events, center events.
And for that area that I kind of called the good neighbor clause, there's that added piece where if someone is disturbed by the levels, if they're too high or they feel they're too high, they call directly the establishment to see if the music can be reduced or turned down, correct?
That's correct. There's actually 2 conditions. One, to provide a primary and alternative number to the city, because I've been in this business long enough, most of the time the city police or code enforcement get these calls. But there's also a requirement for them to publish those representative contact information on their website.
Okay. No, those are the questions that I have. I think what we're looking at right here is something very interesting, and I saw what the Planning Commission had recommended. And there's also I'm looking over here, there is a scale that even has where for each of these events that take place, the music would shut down an hour before the event is over, just to make sure that the lines are being respected between the establishment and the neighborhood. Am I wrong on that, or?
You are correct. That was something we gave after the Planning Commission and having the community meeting. We reduced the outdoor event center, even though it says 11 to 10, music stops at 9. For typical winery events, it's 11 to 9, music stops at 8. So that was something we agreed to. And then the last hour is just for employees to clean up, late stragglers going to the parking lot, and you're done by 9 and 10 respectively.
If they're straggling, hopefully they catch an Uber or a Lyft.
Yeah, that's what I meant. They're getting an Uber or a Lyft.
Thank you.
That was funny. Councilmember Spies.
Okay. So we're going to be doing deliberation after questions for him, right? We're not doing the whole.
It's all yeah.
We're doing it all.
Because Mr. Darren is here.
Right.
You can ask him if you have questions, but we're also deliberating.
Oh, okay.
He just was already up here.
I didn't know if you were separating the.
No,
okay.
no, because
All right.
the public hearing itself is closed. Yeah.
Okay, I got you. All right, so I want to go to. I want to talk about the condition number 23. So 23 talks about shall keep a log. The minimum of the log shall include date, time, start, duration, blah, blah, blah. And it says, shall be made available to the community development director upon request. Okay, so my challenge with this is only that there is no definite time period on this, right? And so in the event that someone complains about something 2 years ago, if you don't have the log from 2 years ago, you're in theory in violation, right? So what I'm asking, suggesting, is that the condition be changed to perhaps 60 days. 60 days seems like a reasonable time so that we're not keeping it for much longer than we need to. So I guess I would ask, if everybody would be fine with that and if the applicant would be okay with a 60-day retention on the logs. Okay. All right. So I guess since we're deliberating, I guess I'll just get started with it. And so I'm not asking you questions. I'm doing my talking now. Yeah, sit or stand, whatever you want to do.
Okay.
If you want,
Are we coming back for questions?
If you want to go to Sergio next, that's
Mr.
where I was
Robles?
going. I didn't want to. You want to go next, Councilmember? Okay.
Thank you, Councilmember Spies. Quick question: how many breweries do you know have any sound system or that want to play music?
Breweries or wineries?
Sorry, wineries.
I just did a little AI search, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I found 8 within 25, 50-mile radius. Went to their website. I was looking for keywords like music, live music, weddings. All of them had that.
Okay.
3 of them were remote locations, not near single family. I'm not going to call them out. And then there was, 4 of them that it was difficult to tell, but I'm doing aerial measurements with Google Earth on where I feel the music or wedding would occur. And then I'd see a nice house across the street. And for the most part, those 4 averaged anywhere between 150 and 215. Okay. So it's very similar to this, even closer. And then there was one in Clarksburg that was 700 feet from a single family residence. So.
Okay. And then I think you probably already answered it, just in case I missed this. For those residents who have called, or you guys are open to making a separate line for the code enforcement to go and make sure that they're following up with the business owners, correct?
Yeah, I'll get with the applicant on what number, is best for them. They're very small staff. This is a small mom and pop business, so it's probably going to be the same primary and alternate for a lot of these. And the winemaker, Chris, is going to have a plan to train his staff to do sound checks before the band even starts playing or the DJ starts playing. Obviously, the conditions require intermittent checks during the event, and just to check. And it's I'm going to make the recommendation that they start out easier and don't come out of the gate running, because sometimes it's hard to put that genie back in the bottle. So, but hopefully that answered your question.
Okay. Councilmember Space, can I ask for a clarification on your proposed change to condition of approval 23? I want to make sure we understand what you're asking. The condition right now says the log will be kept and be provided to the community development director upon request. And it wasn't clear if you were saying that the logs only get kept for 60 days, or are you suggesting that they be turned into the community development director every 60 days? It just wasn't clear to me what you were suggesting.
No, I was suggesting that the applicant should maintain the logs for a period of 60 days, and should the community development director request for them, then they would be accountable for 60 days of records.
So if say 90, 120 days, 2 years, use your example, the records, they wouldn't exist anymore, presumably.
Correct.
They might not. Okay.
Correct. Now, because here's the challenge. The challenge is this from an auditor perspective, right? If you don't determine a date or a day that it sunsets, you could, in theory, 3 years down the road, be in trouble for not maintaining something for 3 years. Do you see where I'm
I understand your point. I just wanted to make sure I was hearing it right.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make it easier. It caught my eye. Not trying to make any.
And you're
huge
suggesting
waves.
60?
I'm suggesting 60 days. I think there's another conditional use permit that I'll refer to later that is at 14 days, but I understand that 60 would make everybody happy.
Ample time.
Yes, and so
It's ample time.
It's ample time. Look, I mean, if you have a complaint, it should be, if you're not
Timely.
dealing with it in a
should be
timely fashion.
It should be
Yep,
timely.
Right.
Especially for something like this.
I wish I would have caught that, but we accept that change the condition.
I mean, maybe they don't have an event within a certain 60-day period.
Right, then they wouldn't have to record anything.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you meant they wouldn't keep it.
If on January
Never mind.
1st,
Sorry,
right, they
yeah.
have an event, they would need to keep it until.
For 60 days.
Yeah.
Whatever, 60 days.
So rolling
prior.
60.
If nothing happens in
Yeah.
that period of time, they need to retain nothing.
Got it.
Right.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, it's simply an issue of audit. If in 3 years someone complains and then the city goes back and says, show me the log from whatever day, is it reasonable to expect them to save something for 3? I'm just trying to keep it short, that's all, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Did you have additional?
Comments?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be for Mr. Wilson.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm good, Mr. Wilson. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you can sit. I know you got
Thanks.
stuck here because we started off with.
That's okay. Thank
Mr.
you.
Sin. Our-
Just, my thoughts, obviously we have a small business owner, and by the way, Mr. Bartholomew family's been around a long time. As someone mentioned earlier, advocate for Elk Grove Incorporation, so a lot of respect for you there. Small business in general, I think we all want to support, but this is the challenge, right? When urban uses come adjacent to a rural area, these things can happen. So I appreciate Mr. Chandler's comment for his family. I empathize with that. Being a father myself, it's really tough once the kids go down for a nap. So it's this is very. I understand the concern that's being raised. I did try to record on my Apple Watch the decibels. The speakers at the podium, just to give you an idea, at the podium ranged anywhere between 53 and 66 decibels in this quiet environment. And so just kind of for my own awareness to give you an idea of what 66, 60 decibels would feel like or sound like. But I also heard a lot of support for the business too. So I'm trying to figure out a way to compromise and how we can do this. I heard, like I mentioned, I heard a lot of support for the business and concept, but there's some restrictions to the events. However, I understand too from the business side, you're investing in expansion, capital improvements as such. Sometimes you can, it's difficult to just limit events on a numerically. I mean, I think you have as a small business especially, you need that freedom to have events. You may not get them at all, and so it's kind of like when it rains, it pours. You need to, if you get events, you need to appreciate that, because the next time could be, a drought, if you will. You might not get any events. So
Yeah, what you're saying.
yeah, so it's tough to limit an event like that. And so, but I do see in here, there is, Councilmember Spees was talking about 23. I'm focused on our conditional use permit 26, which specifically states may be revoked or modified for cause, and calls for police services may be cause for additional review and potential modifications. So this is not the end. This is, if this were approved, this would be a trial. This would be, a way for, the small business to work with the community residents and make sure there's minimum disturbance. And the residents have every right to use our police services for recourse, and we can easily be back here for review and revocation, and we've done it. So it's not like this is not meaningless. So I'm more relying on that, because in this situation, trying to balance, again, small business owners' rights for a business that the community seems to support, even the residents who have concerns about the noise, but also I appreciate the business trying to work with the residents. And I think there's been enough compromise to warrant at least a trial run to see how things, forgive my loose terms here, but pan out over time. And again, we welcome, your calls and concerns, and we can address these matters in the future. So that's where I would stand with that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think, to your point, hearing some of those concerns even raised tonight, I think what gives me comfort is that the city itself has objective standards to sound. So this isn't, we have our own guidelines, and it's within that parameter. So we have those protections, like you just said, when it comes to reviewing if the standards aren't being followed. So we have recourse. Councilmember Brewer.
No, I definitely thank the residents for coming in tonight, and I definitely appreciate their emails, because I have reviewed a lot of this issue since this first came up in the fall. And I do recall having conversations with Mr. Bender about this, and there were some of his stuff that he offered were pretty fair and straightforward, that can help be a win-win for everyone involved. And I think one of the key things that I noticed of all of the conditions of approval, because you have 39 overall, which is a pretty generous undertaking for Christopher Sellers to be amenable to all 39. And I definitely appreciate Councilmember Spee's amendment on 23 for the 60 days, because that is a common sense approach. But I'm looking at number 22, that's pretty much said, should the sound levels at the reference position exceed 85 decibels, the winery representative shall immediately notify the band or the DJ to reduce the level to 85 or below. which is important because it goes right to where the mayor has stated about the noise standards that are already in place for the city, throughout the city. As long as you're in Elk Grove city limits, those standards apply. And I think that's very helpful, not only for the business to still maintain being successful, but also for the peace of mind for the neighborhood adjacent to it. It's an interesting issue in itself because you have the number of events being increased. So that means there will be events taking place during the week. Some events may be acoustic. Most of the events I would think would be acoustic. And if you're having a DJ, it's going to be for a larger event. And the management at Christopher Sellers is really good about interacting with their vendors and letting them know the rules of the road. So there's no controversy, no hiccups going on during the day of those events to make them pleasant, not for everyone involved. And I think it's a fair approach because it's a business no different from our other winery establishments in town that want to stay competitive, that want to stay on par or on pace with the other ones that provide a similar service. And it's something that strikes a balance that is fair for everyone involved. The amount of noise from the events, that will be handled by the business itself. But I'm hoping that as this evolves and continues to evolve, that the feedback and the communication between the neighbors, between the business, continue. Because we all want to see Christopher Sellers succeed, and we want to see them succeed successfully, but also responsibly as well. So I think what we have here is a pretty fair approach, and I'm very supportive of what we have before us tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember Spies?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've had the fortunate opportunity to do this once before with a different location. And so first, genuinely, seriously, I want to thank the public for coming out and for having a calm, rational conversation. The other event was, or the other application was nowhere near as calm and collective as this is, and genuinely, I understand that there can be some angst in this, and so I appreciate you. In terms of outreach, I haven't paid attention to all of it, but I know that outreach has been done. In the other application, there was outreach done as well, but I think you've exceeded the outreach here. So to do a little bit of comparison, again, this has been done before, where the sensitive receptors were actually much closer. Okay, it comes down to science that I don't do really well trying to explain, but the sound at the source is not the same measurement of source at the sensitive receptors. So if it's 85 when it at the source, and it's 50 when it gets to the sensitive receptors, when I say sensitive receptors, I'm talking about the houses, your homes, right? And so in the other instance as well, there was concern, but again, they were closer. They were actually much closer. And the key goal is making sure that you've got that 50 decibel at the property line. So, where did I want to go next? Oh, so number 26. So, I mean, I already talked about 23. Number 26, that is extremely important because, folks think you have a conditional use permit, you've got a conditional use permit for life. That's not entirely true. You can lose a conditional permit. And that is if you don't maintain the conditions that are laid out. So I have every expectation that the applicant will maintain, the standards that we're setting with them. I'm glad to hear that, there will be an opportunity for complaints to come in, not just to the operator, but, to the city as well. And that's specifically why we would like to have that log. And we're requiring that log so that we can have conversations days after the event. I would suggest, please don't wait 61 days to make a complaint, right? That make certain that if there is a complaint, that you address it as soon and quickly as possible. So I am willing to support this. One last thing. Again, with the other application as well, there were a number of residents who were concerned about the sheer number of possible dates that could happen. What you also have to realize is that there are constraints that will keep the operator from ever getting to this number. And that is the weather. I don't know if you noticed, but it's not really cool to hang out outside right now. So when you're freaking out or unhappy, it's not to say freaking out. When you're unhappy, okay, when you're unhappy about the number of events, you have to realize that that number is actually going to be much smaller simply because nobody wants to have a wedding outside in January unless you have some sort of special enjoyment of really cold weather. So with that, I can support the application, and I encourage the applicant to continue to be good neighbors. If there have been infractions in the past, please ensure that you don't have those infractions again. I'm certain, given the reputation of the family, that there won't be any problems. So, thank you.
Councilmember Robles?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think a lot of the colleagues already touched on everything that concerns that I had to talk about. I just hope that the applicant can be a good neighbor with the neighbors, and I hope that there can be continued dialogue, especially if there's any complaints on there. Please do come back. We are willing to listen, and as they already said, so.
All right, thank you. I want to thank all of the residents that came today and also those that emailed and called me. These are important decisions. They're not easy. And so we want to be responsive and listen. So I appreciate everybody reaching out and offering their opinions. I also want to just do also a shout out to Mr. Brett Bartholomew, who I reached out to discuss the project as well, and he was very helpful. I think that we have a lot of the protections in place here. What I really want to go back to is what I said when I spoke earlier, when I said the city has objective standards to sound as well. And there are sound buffers in place. So I feel comfortable supporting this project because the wineries, I think all of us, maybe not you, Councilmember Robles, but I know that at least the four of us have attended numerous events there, and they're great events. And we like to see that vibrancy in our city. And we want to see more of that vibrancy in our city. And I've attended other winery events as well. And I absolutely believe that the winery has a right to be competitive with their neighboring wineries. That's how you attract business. That's how you attract these events. That would be a game changer for the winery and sustain for years and years to come and be a signature business here in our city. And what I will also say is that I really appreciate that the representative contact would be available should issues arise. So there's an opportunity to fix things in real time. So we have that protection in place as well. So with that, I just want to acknowledge the generational hard work that this family has really been involved in our city since its inception. I think 3 generations that I know of, probably 4 in the near future. So I just wanted to recognize all of the hard work. I know that the Bartholomew family loves Elk Grove, and we want to see you succeed. And we also want to, again, as a city council, we want to be responsive to our residents. So there's opportunities for the neighbors to engage and be a part of that. And should the noise level increase to an acceptable amount, there are steps in place to address those. So I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, and I will also lend my support to this. So with that, we have, it's motions 1 and 2.
So moved.
Wait,
Yes, sir. What do we need?
planning has an addition.
So regarding the time limit for the 60 days for condition number 23, I also want to note that it may be appropriate to add a similar 60-day for the log requirement and condition of approval number 25, which also has a log requirement.
That same requirement, okay.
So for 23 and 25.
You move with those additions?
Move with the amendments and the suggestions offered by Councilmember Spees.
Okay. So we have a motion for 1 and 2?
Second.
And we have a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, we will move on to our next item, please.
That takes us to our regular agenda action items. Item 9.1, receive information on Senate Bill 802 and the revised proposal from Sacramento County to update the Homelessness and Housing Partnership structure and provide direction.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council members. I'm Sarah Bontrager, your Housing and Public Services Manager. Tonight, our topic is to review the SB 802 and somewhat related, the revised homeless partnership structure proposed by the County of Sacramento. So just by way of background, there are many players in homelessness in our community. Sacramento County plays a role in providing direct services through usually contracts with nonprofits for both shelter and a lot of behavioral health and public benefits like CalFresh and CalWorks. We also have our continuum of care, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. That is managed by Sacramento Steps Forward, which is a nonprofit agency and has been since 2011. The Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency is our public housing authority for all of Sacramento County. It is a joint powers authority of the City of Sacramento and Sacramento County. And they receive some funding for homelessness and distribute a lot of affordable housing on behalf of the unincorporated county and the City of Sacramento. And then, of course, local jurisdictions like Elk Grove and some of the City of Sacramento, Rancho Cordova, Citrus Heights, et cetera. So one of the issues at play in the discussion tonight is what happens with our continuum of care. Continuum of cares have been around for a while. 1994, HUD created them. They wanted to centralize the distribution of federal funds for homelessness. They exist throughout the nation, and different states use them in different ways. But they have some core functions, and they are always governed by a board made up of representatives from different sectors. Always have a person with lived experience. Sometimes they have government, sometimes they have elected officials, sometimes they are more community-based. In Sacramento County, our Continuum of Care awards around $40 million annually in HUD funding, and they also get state funding in the form of a HAP grant. They run our HMIS and coordinated access system and conduct the point-in-time count, which they did Monday and Tuesday this week. So in the next few months, we should see some results from that. In Elk Grove, what we've seen is that we've actually been able to manage our own homelessness problem fairly effectively. We've seen homelessness increase a little bit over time according to the point-in-time count, but we still have the lowest rate of any of the major cities in Sacramento County, less than 2% of the region's population of unsheltered homeless. So our community, as you know, as we've been having a lot of our shelter discussions, cares a lot about this issue. And so we've created a lot of our own solutions, which has helped us to manage this problem. And we've seen some positive impacts in our community. And what we're hearing from our community members is they're seeing less homelessness in our city and generally happy with the direction that has happened on encampments and services. However, regionally, we're still seeing a lot of negative sentiment around homelessness. There's a perception that not enough is being done, especially in the city of Sacramento, and that is the result of a lack of coordination between government. There's also a desire for greater accountability. And so those sentiments drove the two major proposals we saw in the last year. One of them, Sacramento County's Structure for Homeless Governance, came before the council in its original version last September, and then was revised based on feedback received at a joint meeting of all the cities and the County of Sacramento in October. And then we also saw Senate Bill 802, which was introduced by Senator Ashby, and she amended it just a couple of days ago. So I'll talk a little bit about SB 802 first. The key elements of SB 802 are the creation of a joint powers authority that would change the Housing and Redevelopment Agency, SHRA, into the Sacramento Area Housing and Homelessness Agency, which I'm going to call SAHA. That SAHA agency incorporates SSF, SAC Steps Forward, and the COC into it in a new homeless division. And it also gives more funding and decision-making power over affordable housing and homelessness to this new agency. Elk Grove would receive, as a part of SB 802, 2 seats on the board of that entity. There were some revisions that came out earlier this week that we worked on negotiating last year, but formally released this week. They do propose language that allows us to retain our CDBG and home funding and our affordable housing impact fees, which was very important to us. We've made a lot of progress on affordable housing, and we have a lot of projects in progress and land that we still need to develop. One of the features of the original legislation was a change to the RHNA process, the Regional Housing Needs Allocation, and actually proposed a reduction. That has been removed from the legislation. So the amendments did remove our most significant concerns about SB 802, and as a result, we, as staff, are recommending moving to a neutral position on the bill with the amendments that were proposed and came out this week. There are still a lot of unknowns about how SB 802 would actually be operationalized. We're not really sure that the funding that the agency has would be completely adequate to implement the programs that it needs to implement. We don't know what kind of city staff time would be required to support it. And there is an open question related to the legality of requiring jurisdictions to enter into a JPA. We also recommend remaining open to working with Ashby on future amendments to SB 802 that might offer additional clarity to some of the terms that were in the amendments and some other elements that we know other cities are concerned about as well. In tandem, the county has proposed a revised structure for its homeless partnership. They proposed what you saw last fall in September was a new entity that would cover housing and homelessness that they called the Housing and Homeless Board, or the SHHB. That would be a Brown Act body, more accountability for elected officials, and the SHHB would oversee the continuum of care and set high-level priorities and recommend local goals. This council tentatively supported it, but noted that there was still a lot of detail that needed to be worked out on it, and that was true. And a lot of other of our smaller cities had the same sense. We went from there into the joint cities-county meeting in October, which included the mayors of all of the cities, as well as several Sacramento City Council members and all 5 Board of Supervisors. At that meeting, there was a lot of discussion about homelessness and how to move forward, but no clear agreement on what we should do to move forward, particularly around this issue of governance. The smaller cities' perspectives were pretty unified, including Elk Grove, wanting to retain our own land use control and control over our own funding. Recognizing that in suburban jurisdictions, homelessness looks different and might need different responses than you would see across the county as a whole. And so wanting to be able to continue to implement the things that have worked in our communities or that we think will work best in our communities. And also just concerns about staff time and funding. Many of the smaller cities do not have enormous housing staffs, and standing up this effort, we'd really like more info on what would be expected. So the county's consultant made some recommendations based on that and some follow-up, and ended up recommending that the COC board be reconstituted to include a majority of elected officials. That would bring the leadership and the policy direction under the one board, but it requires the COC to agree. They've had some discussions. It's not totally clear how the COC is going to land on changing their structure. So the consultant after the October meeting also recommended an alternative option, which was creating a new board of just elected officials, which they called the Sacramento Housing and Homeless Board. And then that would drive the coordination of programs between cities and the county. That board would not have a formal relationship with the COC in that model. This is a graphic. There's a lot going on here that the county has circulated. What you can see here, the top row there shows the current model where the COC board and electeds are separate. The recommended option shows the COC board and the electeds having some overlap there, and the COC board advising the Board of Supervisors and individual city councils on strategy and policy, but not having authority over the local jurisdictions, spending or land use decisions or anything like that. The alternative option shows the COC board remaining separate from elected officials, but creating this separate board of elected officials that would serve as advisory to the Board of Supervisors and city councils. There also is down at the bottom a JPA option, which the county did not move forward with, but the City of Sacramento's council, which heard this a couple of weeks ago, was interested in a JPA model. So not necessarily the SB 802 model. Their staff is still looking at what options would exist for them, but there's still not clear alignment there. Rancho Cordova heard these same set of items last night. They did support the county's recommended option and also going neutral on SB 802. The other cities, Citrus Heights, Folsom, Galt, will consider this between tomorrow night and February 10th. So our recommendation on the county's homeless partnership structure is to support the recommended option, and staff would work with the various partners to figure out the details of what that would look like. Staff also supports the alternative option if the recommended option is not achievable. We know there are still some unknowns here. We don't know what an MOU would look like. There are still a lot of details to be worked out, as there were with the September version of this. But we feel confident in partnering with the county to make this a reality. And so what we're looking for tonight is direction from the council on the recommendation to go to neutral on SB 802 and to support the recommended option for the COC reconstitution and the county's partnership model with the alternative available if that's not achievable. Happy to answer questions.
Thank you very much. At this time, I will open up public comment opportunity. We have one person signed up to speak, Michael Manaski. Mr. Manaski? Okay.
The bureaucracy of funding and administering homeless assistance is a big business and a distraction from the need for solid policies of affordable housing. There are many hundreds, not 83, homeless people in Elk Grove. There's over 6,500 homeless in Sacramento County, according to the last point in time study that was just done. And it's actually in process right now. So there's over 6,500 homeless in Sacramento County, which has a population of 1.6 million. If you divide that, the population of Elk Grove is more than 11% of that number. That means that there are over 700 homeless attributable to Elk Grove. The Elk Grove Police Department drives them away. That's why the homeless concentrate elsewhere. But there are many poor people who work here who cannot afford to live here and are likely homeless elsewhere. Other than to segregate economic classes into low-rise, landlord-run villages, the Elk Grove City Council and the city manager have no affordable housing plan. SB 802 rearranges the deck chairs on the sinking ship of state. It's a sleight of hand move to distract from the impotent and negligent electeds and bureaucrats. The real money in housing is made in bank lending interest, real estate profits, and so on. And the ability of a country to pay taxes must always be proportioned to a great degree to the quantity of money in circulation. And that's the principle upon which taxation was built in this country, according to the Federalist Papers. Housing, transportation, healthcare, and all of our expenses are unaffordable to more than half of the U.S. population, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So what's the answer to this dilemma of the richest country in the world, half of whose people are, by any measure, economically impoverished and whose lives and health are imperiled? It's certainly not more taxes like Measure E on such people. As it is, homelessness is a $220 million business in Sacramento County with tens of millions of those dollars spent on psychiatrists and their appurtenant businesses. Maybe the house you live in should be made affordable, a personal untaxed property, and maybe the real money in housing needs to pick up the tab.
Thank you. That was, that was our final speaker on this, so I will go ahead and close public comment. And Mr. Bierman, you have some information you want to add?
I'd just like to make maybe a couple comments. Obviously, this is a pretty complicated subject and one that's been a lot of discussion. We're not unique in the Sacramento region. I think that both SB 802 as well as the county's proposal are flawed, but there's no perfect solution to the problem, right? I think the goals of better regional collaboration are laudable, and I think the county's proposal in particular takes a step in the right direction. So I think from your staff's position, I think the county's proposal is one that we definitely support, the recommended option. And I think it's far superior to SB 802. And we would hope and love for the senator and her office to really work closely with the cities and with the county to hopefully come up with a solution that works for everybody. The reason we're recommending kind of a support position on the county's proposal and a neutral position on SB 802 is because, again, we like the county's proposal. We think it's a good step in the right direction, a good solution. SB 802, as originally proposed, would have been devastating for the city of Elk Grove. I would have taken all of our funding for affordable housing and homelessness and put it as part of a big pot with the GAPA. We worked hard with Senator Ashby's office. We appreciate her willingness to cooperate and collaborate with us to remove those funds from the bill. And so the amendments that Sarah spoke of largely address our concerns. So that's why we're willing to move towards a neutral position. I will add that there's still a little bit of work, we think, left to be done on the bill. Senator Ashby's office has expressed a willingness to work with us to address any remaining, technical things that we think would more clearly protect our funds. But assuming we can get any revisions that we think are necessary, we definitely recommend that the council express its support to go to a neutral position, as long as our funds can be protected. And so I just wanted to make sure that was clear. We're not quite there yet on the bill amendments, but we're definitely heading in the right direction. And so if you would vest me with the authority to make the determination that whatever the final bill language is, if it addresses city's substantial concerns, that then the city would then officially change its position from opposed to neutral. And we're happy to answer any questions that you have.
All right, excellent, thank you.
Question.
I'm actually gonna let Councilmember, our Vice Mayor, start, since he was also very helpful on this.
Thank you, Mayor. But I have first a question, Jason, on your comments. I appreciate the clarification. Do we know obviously the senator isn't agreeable to the county's proposed option, but do we understand why she feels compelled the need to reintroduce 802? I recall from those conversations, if the county and the city and everybody, all of us here, the mayor and all the mayors, if they were making progress, that 802 would not come back. So I'm just curious what conversations have happened.
I think I would say there's still hope. There's still opportunity for discussion and dialogue. There's an interest in further discussions on this. I think the biggest thing, in my understanding, is that the county's proposal does not create a JPA. And that was one of the big things that she was hoping to accomplish through that. And so, I'm not going to speak for the senator specifically. There may be other areas or other issues that she continues to have concerns over on the county's proposal, but I think that's one of the big ones.
I see. Okay. Well, I just say I agree with staff's recommendation. If we can ensure that all the amendments that we had talked about and what we need to protect our city's funding in the 802 bill, I think that we would be fine going, in my opinion, we should be fine going from opposition to neutral. I think the position of opposition is always there for us. I also think that, we Elk Grove, I think as leaders, we do take a regional approach to things as much as we can, but first and foremost, we have a fiduciary duty for our residents. We were just talking about earlier tonight about the homeless shelter and the progress we've been making on homelessness, and that is our responsibility first and foremost. And so to the extent that we can maintain that autonomy, those resources for us to take care of our residents as our fiduciary duty, we can do that, and then do what we can to help the region participating in decision-making and well, whatever else I guess needs to happen. But I think, from a decision tree perspective, our job is to take care of our city first, but we also want to be helpful to the region. And so I don't think we lose that aspect. We just have to have our priorities in order. And that's what this does. If we're able to ensure the amendments to protect our residents and our resources and our decision making, then we can go to position of neutral and still work with the county and the other mayors. I think Mayor Singh-Allen's been representing us very well in that committee, and we can find a way to get to a I don't know that it's called a JPA, but I would hope it would be some sort of joint powers, coordination, whatever you want to call it, to address the issue. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And if I can also just elaborate, when I spoke to the senator over the summer about sort of the background and why this bill was introduced, and she really wanted to focus on moving the needle because prior, the city and the county, there were fractured relations, there wasn't coordination, there wasn't really a lot of collaboration on the issue of homelessness. There were roadblocks. So from that standpoint of moving the needle, of having better collaboration and systems in place and allowing the county to step up, and which they have, which is what was part of her goal, was to see that movement. I want to see the county be able to do this and be able to be successful in this endeavor, because that was the pre-existing sort of call to action, wanting to see movement on this. I do believe that the county has stepped up and are trying to do that work. And I want to see them be able to do that and be successful at it. So I'm hoping, I mean, I'm good with being neutral, but I am hoping that we allow the county to do their work and allow them to be successful. I do think that they're on the right track. And I do appreciate the senator taking into serious consideration the concerns that the cities had. And you see that reflected in the amendments. So, you know, I personally obviously would be okay going neutral, but I wanted to provide some background on, and I believe I did when I first went to this meeting, the city and county meeting. It was a first meeting, so it was a good effort of sharing information. But I think what was clear is that a lot of the suburbs feel like they are managing this. Just like the city of Elk Grove, we have created a process and systems to address this, to manage it within our city. And other cities feel like they're also moving in the right direction. And so I'm hopeful that the city of Sacramento and the county can work together and coordinate and really address this where the numbers are outstanding. They are not outstanding in Elk Grove. I rely on the numbers coming from the point in time, from our homeless navigators, to provide us with that data. So what I will say is I'm hopeful, I know that the senator has called for a meeting, that she allows the county the opportunity to do their work, because that was moving the needle forward. She introduced the bill as originally intended, was to bring us all together. Well, I think she's done that. But as the bill is in its current form with the amendments, sort of the worst parts have been removed. So I do appreciate, and also appreciate the work that you provided over the summer as well.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. And it was good. Appreciate your help with that as well as Mr. Bierman's. And you know, I know I see Supervisor Hume here in the audience too. I think, you know, Supervisor Hume's been very instrumental in moving things forward as well. And so appreciate his work in this. So everybody has the right intention. I think the senator, his heart is in the right place. I think we're all trying to solve it, but we all, from a governance structure, we all have these responsibilities, right? Each elected official for their city or county district. And then obviously the senators in a much, you know, even bigger jurisdiction. So everybody is trying to take into account what they were elected for, who they were elected by, and right. But we all have the topic, the issue of homelessness and how do we solve it? How do we make it better for the region? And so I too hope that we can continue to work, you, Mayor, and Supervisor Hume, on this effort that's going forward. In the meantime, on a parallel track, you know, if we can get our amendments, we will happy to go to a position of neutral. So we will work with the senator in that capacity as well. And so then,
but you know, that one outstanding concern that we saw in the presentation was the legality itself of the JPA. That question, I think, would address a lot of this. So I would love to see that addressed, whether it's Ledge Council or where this is going to take place. But the legality of the JPA is at the heart of a lot of this discussion. If it's not, and we know that now, then at least we can be fully supportive and move forward with what the county is doing and really make that successful. That question is imperative to answer, the legality. So I'd be curious to see when Ledge Council is going to weigh in on this.
Well, I'll defer to Mr. Hobbs, but I mean, I think Ledge Council will write what the author desires.
But
They may
still have
warn.
to, yeah, they still have to review it with a legal opinion on this, and I don't know that you have one
They
on
may,
this, but. you
yeah,
know.
they may give the author
Yeah.
their opinion on it, but,
So I can't speak for Ledge Council. Obviously, I don't know what their opinion is on this, but I do think there's a very serious question as to whether or not the legislature has the power to compel local agencies to enter into a JPA. A JPA, by its terms, is a joint powers agreement being sort of the key principle there.
Mhm.
And so to be compelled to enter into an agreement is sort of antithetical to the notion of an agreement. But it's a little unclear, but I think there is a very serious legal question, Mayor and Council, as
Yeah.
to whether or not they can do that.
and how does that get answered, John?
Will ultimately get answered by the courts.
Yeah.
Someone would perhaps pursue litigation and seek a court declaration as to whether or not that's a valid use of the legislative power.
And so if a 802 were to get approved, signed into law, went into effect, that answer would need to be decided by the courts. Would that bill go into effect, or would it be stayed until?
So as a
court
general
decided?
proposition, absent judicial intervention, once laws are passed, then they are the law. The subject of the law is bound to comply with them. However, a court could, in appropriate circumstances, stay the effectiveness of the law, sometimes even before the law is passed, although that's an unusual thing for courts to do. They usually wait for the bill to be passed before they intervene. But if a court had serious questions about the validity or constitutionality of the law, then the court could enjoin it pending further proceedings. But that's all to be determined later, if and when the bill is passed, and if and when litigation is filed, and if and when an injunction is sought and granted.
And that's why I support staff's recommendation,
Yeah.
because why risk, our autonomy, our funds on a future court decision? I think there's, and it works both ways. There's incentive,
Yeah.
towards Senator. I think Senator would like to work with us. So we can always go to oppose if we need to. And if it winds up in court, we'll be there we could be there anyway, so.
Has our assembly member reached out to staff and shared any thoughts on this?
Last summer.
Last summer, but not since.
recently.
Okay. Councilmember Brewer.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank you and Vice Mayor Soon for your leadership on this. I know it's created a lot of activity since August of last year, and to see the work that was being done, not only on the city's part, but also on the county's part, is definitely commendable, because the mindset from the cities is that we are doing our part to address the issue. We all have our different ways and our different methods, but just with my own seeing eyes and seeing what's going on here, we're definitely doing our part. The question that I have is, having the continuum of care board being reconstituted as the recommended option seems like it's the more appropriate way to go, because that way there's a mechanism in place, and there's actually a call to arms that both the county and the cities can adhere to move forward and continue to do the work, but see how we can make further improvements and further tweaks to address homelessness and make the issue more attainable for a solution. The Joint Powers Agreement, the JPA part of it, it's interesting because it feels like overall, it wouldn't take place, or at least wouldn't be implemented until January of 2028. So that definitely buys some time in getting the answers that we seek as far as the JPA is concerned. But also having someone to ask that question of Legislative Council now can definitely help too, because it is a 2-year bill, meaning the bill's in the second house. That means it's been sitting in the assembly for a while. Any and all changes outside the changes that were made on January 26th, which was Monday, any and all changes that are made has to be made in the assembly. Otherwise, we just come back to the Senate. It's on concurrence of assembly minutes, which means when the bill's back to the Senate, the only way it could be amended is if we can send that bill back to the assembly for those changes, and it turns very cumbersome. And there's a 72-hour notice that comes into play, which makes it even more tricky, because all the bills, all the key policy really gets resolved within the last 4 days of the legislative session, which ends on August 30th of this year. So that makes the timeline even more dire. And then all work has to be done between now and June. And that's why it's very important for us to continue working, continuing arm in arm to make sure that we're doing this together, but to also have the outcome that we really, really need to serve our cities and help serve the people that need it the most, our homeless populations. The amendments that were adopted on Monday, by the way, one key question I have is, does that language definitely ensure that the dollars that we have generated through Measure E stay locally? Because obviously those go into the general fund, but those dollars that we have from Measure E stays here. But the language that I read earlier today that I highlighted, it was recently amended. The bill is going to be casted. So what used to be in one section is now in another. But the language says the funds and fees described in paragraph 1 shall only be spent within the jurisdiction from which they were originally collected and for the purposes for which they were originally collected. So that provides us some relief right there. But if there's something additional that we really need to ensure, not only on that, but also on Block Grant's part, let's definitely get that clarity, because that's going to help us at the end of the day. I really want to commend Jason Bierman also, because he did that midnight call with the senator and worked out what turned out to be the seeds of the agreement that really gets us into a better place. Cannot thank you enough for that. But as we're moving forward, these are the key things we have to keep in mind, and definitely stay in lockstep with the county and Supervisor Hume and his group where they're moving, because the solution's going to be there as we work together. And so this is very commendable, the work we're all doing, but being leaders in that space, mayor, vice mayor, the entire council, as long as we keep our eyes focused on the bigger picture, I think we'll be in a good place. We're in a good place. Just constant communication is the key on this one, and constant communication with Senator Ashby is going to be key for us on this.
Thank you. Councilor Spies? Madam Mayor. Okay, Mr. Berman, so just something I want to clarify here, because in the staff recommendation, what it said in the presentation was housing homelessness funding sources. That wasn't our only challenge, and those challenges were explained in the presentation earlier. One of those sticking points was relative to land use authority. Is that already addressed, or are we saying we're only concerned about funding sources? I just want to be crystal clear. All the city's other concerns have been addressed. So I think that the only remaining concern is related to the local funding, and making sure that it is crystal clear that our funds are excluded from the authority of the JDA. Okay, and so then the issue of land use authority, that's been taken care of. Okay, all right, so then, because I was willing to certainly go with staff recommendation with a modification to continue to oppose 802, however, since I hear that that's not, that the other issues are taken care of, then I can certainly go with staff recommendation. Thank you. Madam Mayor, I just want to thank you and Vice Mayor Sewin for your hard work on this, and Jason, as well. I know that last summer you guys were working very hard on this. There's never an easy solution. If there's easy solutions to homelessness is already put and done. But thank you for advocating and working hard. Thank you. So I think there's unanimous support here and providing direction, so we support staff recommendation. And while we have our county representative here, we want to thank you for also leading the efforts, Supervisor Hume and your colleagues. I've seen the hard work, and I've talked to all of you, and you're all committed to doing this work, helping really move the needle on homelessness and having better collaboration and communications. You're all dedicated public servants, so I thank you for all the work that you continue to do on this. Madam Mayor, I'd like to get a vote from the council on this. I think there's 2 points that I'd like to suggest in the motion. One is to authorize staff to move to a new position on SB 802, contingent on the bill being amended to satisfaction staff that addresses our local funding concerns, and also supporting the county's preferred option relating to the regional housing and homelessness. So what you just said. May I get a second? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Thank you. Item 9.2, receive information from staff and provide direction regarding updates to the memorandum of understanding between the City of Elk Grove and the Consumers Community Services District concerning landscape trails and parks maintenance. Good evening. Once again, I'm Jeff Warner, Public Works Director for the City of Elk Grove. This item is to provide the City Council and community with an update about landscape maintenance services here in the City of Elk Grove, as well as to discuss some important collaborative efforts between the City and the Community Services District aimed at increasing efficiency and service delivery. So landscaping outside of parks is the focus this evening, and public landscaping outside of parks in the City of Elk Grove are primarily found in streetscapes, those large swaths of landscaping adjacent to the roadway, medians, the landscaping in the center of the roadway, and trails. The city and the CSD each provide landscape maintenance services throughout the city. These areas are generally categorized into these 3 categories: city-owned and maintained landscapes, CSD-owned and maintained landscapes, and then city-owned and CSD-maintained landscapes, which is the primary focus of the information this evening. There's a memorandum of understanding between the city and the district that's been in place since 2010. Under this memorandum, the CSD provides landscape maintenance services within city-owned landscape areas, in that bold, highlighted, underlined category you see there. It's important to note that all of these maintenance services, the primary services, are provided through third-party contracts. So it's not really city staff or CSD staff that are doing the work, but overseeing contracts and insurance done to our standards through these third-party contracts. This pie chart breaks down the percentage of and total number of acres maintained by each entity. So you can see here the district owns and maintains about 50% of these landscape areas throughout the city. The city of Elk Grove owns and maintains 27% or 144 acres, and then the teal color there is the area 23% that's owned by the city and maintained by the district on our behalf. Generally, this arrangement is working well, and the landscape areas within the city are well maintained. However, there are challenges associated with the overlapping responsibilities that comes in confusion and inconsistency in service delivery standards, various approaches, and these can result in service delays and inefficiency. I'll give you a couple of examples. A call comes in, maybe someone's not fully familiar with this. When you see the map, see some of these overlapping colors over in the pie chart, and how these overlap with each other. So maybe the call gets passed back a couple times, which can result in delays to the resident or in the service that needs to be provided. So staff agencies have been working aware of these issues. We've been working together to address these issues. We refer to these efforts as the CLEAR initiative. That is the Collaborative Local Efficiency Alignment Review. It's an acronym. These efforts are aimed at clarifying ownership, streamlining maintenance responsibilities, and establishing clear operational and financial accountability for these services. The primary goal is to improve efficiency, and we do this through aligning maintenance responsibilities and funding with the ownership and agency core services. The next bullets are kind of the preliminary framework that staff have agreed to, all subject to ongoing discussions and ultimate approval by the council and board. But in general, streetscapes and medians would be maintained by the city. Trails would be maintained by the city outside of parks. Parks would be maintained by the district, which they currently do today. Open spaces, we each have open spaces, and those would remain with each entity under this framework. And then creeks and channels is another one that may seem obvious, but there are overlapping ownership among our creeks and channels, and being that they're primary drainage facilities, those would stay with the city in this framework. Again, this requires ongoing efforts and collaboration to evaluate and transition the ownership and funding accordingly over time. This is a very complicated and nuanced ball of wax, and so we're going to need some support. And we're going to get that from consultant professional services, and we're getting ready to release an RFP here in February to bring on the consultants to help us align or identify the assets, identify how much the cost is to maintain those assets, and figure out how the funding should be split among the agencies, provided we move forward in this framework. The first step towards clarity. So there There are, you haven't seen that yet. There are approximately, so there is an initial first step that's being recommended by staff from both agencies, and we intend to move forward with this, and that's another big part of what we're presenting. There are approximately 64 acres of irrigated streetscapes, medians, and trails that are currently maintained by the district, but owned by the city, so they maintain it on our behalf. So again, those teal areas that you saw in the pie chart on the map. The intent is to transfer these areas back to the city, transfer the maintenance responsibility back to the city starting July 1, 2026. The table on the next slide shows the acreage for each area, so I'll get into that, but the intent is really to reduce the operational overlap, provide data insight to inform future policy decisions on the framework that I laid out earlier, as well as provide targeted and measured approach for the agencies to transition these responsibilities. This will be a very first step to determine whether costs remain neutral as they're intended to, and to see how the city can handle taking on these responsibilities and how that might impact CSD. Again, I want to point out that the parks are still owned and maintained by CSD, so all parks in the area will continue to be owned and maintained by the district. This table provides a summary of the proposed adjustments to the MOU. Currently, the district maintains about 127 acres of landscaping on the city's behalf. The removal of the Ridge area, as well as about 52 acres, an acre and a half of area around the casino on the Parkway, and then about a quarter of an acre in the sort of Main Street area, as well as about 11 acres of data cleanup. There's data in our GIS, and that transfers over in this amendment that we've since corrected, cleaned up assets, and that's going to result in a reduction of 11 acres. So that remaining area maintained by the district on the city's behalf is about 62.5 acres. So we're taking about a little over half of what they currently maintain for us out of the MOU. And the reason the 62.5 will remain is because there's a lot of overlap in the remaining areas, and it just would be too complicated to strategize at this time, so we're going to do that through the broader effort. In order for us to take this on, we anticipate the need for one new full-time employee, a maintenance specialist. This is being requested in the major budget this year, and the reason for that is that we can bring them on board, get them trained, and be prepared to take on service responsibilities on July 1. The maintenance services will continue to be provided through third-party contracts, and we don't anticipate any increased need for additional administrative management staff to be handled with what we currently have. The MOU amendments are just updating the exhibits of the MOU. They're not changing the overall framework of the MOU. The MOU provides authority for the city manager and the general manager to make these changes, so no approval or authority from city council is required, and the changes become effective 30 days from the agreement. Overall, fiscal impacts are expected to be neutral. There are similar administrative overhead and staffing costs between the agencies, so really this is just efficiency play. We're really trying to align responsibilities, core services, ownership, and funding among the agencies. The service contract costs are expected to be similar. They are subject to the same market conditions, so in bidding climate and in the contracting world, we don't expect there to be much difference. It does avoid building oversight between the agencies. Right now, the district submits a budget as well as invoices to the state throughout the year. We need to review those invoices. There's a lot of questions back and forth, so it avoids the need for that to happen. We'll still have it with the parks, but it lessens the burden they own the parks, so we kind of just, you can budget, we'll transfer funding as we receive the funding. And then this will allow us to also track and evaluate data that will be used to inform the ongoing discussions of the clear initiative and in hopes of aligning these responsibilities. That concludes my presentation. Thank you. All right, well, thank you. At this time, I'll go to the public comment opportunity. I see Mr. Maskey's name here. Is that from the last one? Okay. So do we have anyone signed up for this? I can't tell with this. I still see Mr. Maskey's name. Okay, excellent. I will close public comment opportunity. And for discussion here, introduction, we'll start with Councilmember Robles.
Thank you for that presentation. Ready to make that motion? So there's actually not a motion.
There's not a motion. It's just
okay. All right. Okay, so this worries. This is actually kind of a big deal, and I know that most everybody here knows what it's all about and history with it, so I don't want to go deep into it. But what I think is great about this is that this is a new chapter in cooperation with CSE and the city. There was a time when all of this, the MOU from long ago came from court battles, deep distrust between CSE and the city back and forth. And so this is actually a very, very good thing for the residents that most no one will care about. But it really is because it's the rationalization of the landscape maintenance. And people ask, well, this park, it's CSE. They do CSE. No, it's actually the city. And so we don't have that conversation anymore. We'll have less disagreement over funding. Well, it's a much better thing. So I want to go on because I know all of you know that. We wanted that to be on the record. This is actually a pretty big deal. So thank you very much to the CSD. Thank you for our public works staff and our leadership because it's a good thing. So thanks.
Thank you. Former CSD Director Rod Brewer, what do you have to say about this?
In some circles, I'm the sixth director. But no, I think this is a good approach. And I thank Jeff for walking us through what this will look like. And I definitely am very appreciative of Casino CSD being here tonight in the form of Tracy Ferris and Mike Thompson, Parks Superintendent and Recreation Director. I'm very appreciative for them to be here. It definitely helps lay down some parameters on how we want to merge our trailways. And so it's definitely a start in the right direction, especially where the Grove is concerned. Because as that neighborhood continues to grow and mold itself into and become part of that greater network of what we have for trails and landscape network throughout the city, it's very important to have these elements in MOU to be sharpened and honed because where we need to be overall as a city. So I want to thank you and thank Casino CSD for continuing to work together to make this much better.
Vice Mayor, what say you?
I say clearly this is the right thing to do. Clearly, but really it is, and it makes more sense. I think making sure the being along the streets, and I think the general public intuitively thinks it's the city's responsibility anyway. Trails in the park, I think would be the city's responsibility. So anyway, I think there is logic to it, and I appreciate both CSD and city staff's hard work in putting this concept together and carrying it out. Because I do remember too, Councilmember Speaks mentioned the antagonistic relationship between two agencies many moons ago, and so glad to see that partnership continuing and flourishing really. So thank you very much for your work again.
Thank you to my colleagues, fellow CSD friends. This is a great example of government efficiency. So I like to see the cooperation. It's fiscally neutral, but it makes sense when it comes to our community. So that coordination, I think, is sorely needed and will continue. So I appreciate that. So that's our direction. There's no formal action here. So thank you. Keep it up.
That takes us to item 9.3, receive the annual legislative update.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and Council members. So I'm Crystal Love-Lazard. I am the city's Community Engagement Government Relations Manager. So as you know, every year we do a legislative update and recaps a couple bills that we take particular note of. The city tracks and engages on state and federal legislation annually. This year was no different. There was a plethora of bills, especially at the state level, that we followed. There were 2,833 bills introduced in 2025, 1,124 were signed into law, and the governor vetoed 123. So it's a lot of bills. It's a lot of new laws. So we're just gonna do a real quick summary. Starting off with what events shaped the legislature this year. Some of them are different and some of them are similar. So the California wildfires, you remember last time I was here to do this, we were right in the middle of those devastating fires in Los Angeles. That definitely played a role in the legislation that we saw come out this year. The budget deficit continued, which is at $12 billion right now, but it did force some trade-offs and some cuts and some deferred approvals of certain legislative bills. National politics played a huge role in some of the things that we saw, especially in regards to climate and immigration. And then, as was noted throughout the night, affordability and housing is like it's a continued topic of concern on many levels. So I'm going to present just a real quick couple of bills organized under these categories. Okay, so up first, this is really fun. This bill that Senator Ashby sponsored, SB 456, the need for this bill really came about when we were doing our asphalt art project. This is the project that you see outside of Toby Johnson. This bill exempts muralists from what were some licensing requirements. So this we supported, and we're very happy to see that this one passed. Okay, another one that I don't think we were enforcing this, but there is a new law that cities cannot prohibit a person or an organization from providing support services to a person experiencing homelessness. This is delivering food and water and things like that. I don't think we were doing that, but now it's a state law that you cannot prohibit that at the local level. This was a big deal. I know a lot of you track legislative deals, so you're very aware that cap and trade was up for reauthorization. It is now called cap and invest. What you see on this slide, and I won't go into great detail, but was a delineation of the funding priorities in these three different tiers. And so as funding is available, they will fill tier 1 first, then move on to tiers 2 and 3. Okay, this one is one that we are openly working and discussing on, and you will get an update. I think City Clerks is leading the effort on this one. But SB 707 made substantial changes to our open meeting requirements. So this is one that does definitely affect us and that you will receive information moving forward about. Okay, Gonsalves. So SB 827 expands who is required to complete ethics training as a requirement. I'd like to note that we already do what they are now mandating, which is train all directors as well as yourselves and planning commissioners. But it does add a new fiscal piece, there's a fiscal financial training requirement as well, so that's new. Okay, you're very aware, I'm sure you saw this big change that happened while we were passing the budget. The governor rolled in these two CEQA streamlining bills into the budget approval process. So AB 609 from Wicks and SB 607 from Senator Wiener are continuing what we've seen in previous legislative sessions with the CEQA streamlining in an effort to allow for more housing development more quickly, I think is their intent. So, but this is a really big change from a CEQA perspective, from a land use perspective. So obviously we are still working through all of these. Building off of that, Senator Wiener also had a transit-oriented development bill, SB 79. This requires local agencies to approve housing projects that are within a half a mile from certain transit stops with basically limited to no environmental review. So this is another big shift, right, following on the others. So SB 79. Okay, AB 507 changes the approval threshold for adaptive reuse projects and adds certain impact fees exemptions. So this is another thing in the housing space. Continuing the theme, we have AB 670. So this changes the reporting requirements to HCD starting in 2027. So it's another housing, CJ's got his hands full with all of these. Okay, one more, I promise. Nope, two more. Three, yep. Okay, AB 39. So this one is one I did want to note because we are working on some of this already, but it will require that Elk Grove adopt an electrification plan between 2027 and 2030. And there's a lot more detail here, but this is something we'll be discussing as we move forward for sure. We supported this bill, SB 346. This basically allows local agencies to require short-term rental owners to report physical addresses, so it's more trackable, and we can now find those owners who fail to do so. Okay, AB 1308 sets a timeline for residence building construction, so it's like the residential building construction inspections I do want to note that, of course, the city already meets the standard. We're usually fairly quick turnaround. This has a 10-day business day requirement, though, statewide. Okay, that's the housing. Sorry, it's a lot of housing. Okay, moving on to public safety. So there's been a lot in the media covering the usage of masks. I'm sure you're very aware. But SB 627, also by Senator Wiener, this measure prohibits law enforcement from wearing any masks. It goes into effect July 1 of this year. There are some exceptions to that, but in general, masks on law enforcement officials will not be allowed. Okay. AB 645 requires that dispatchers provide pre-arrival medical instructions when needed. So this is an improvement to enhance public safety and health while the responders are on their way. AB 992 changes education requirements for police officers hired after January 1st, 2031. And moving on to Public Works and Transportation, we did support this bill. So SB 720 establishes an alternative automated traffic enforcement program that cities can opt into. If you remember a couple years ago, there was a policy or a pilot program that was created for a limited number of cities here in California. This expands it, so if cities choose to move into this, they can. It is not a mandate to do so. Okay, AB 476 enhances copper theft reporting requirements and fines. Copper theft is continuing to be a problem, so this enhances that penalty. And AB 394 broadens the enhancement of penalties for battery committed to like a wider range of public employees. Previously, it was a limited group of employees on like transit providers, so this covers more folks. And unfortunately, there's all too often you see battery instances on public transit. So this is meant to enhance the penalties as a deterrent. Okay, another big thing that happened this year, which you're very aware of, it was the redistricting piece. So we had Assembly Bill 604 that also passed very quickly through the legislature. If you remember back to the summer, the Texas legislature redrew its congressional districts, their maps mid-cycle. And so California leaders responded in kind, saying that they would redraw our maps. So they passed AB 604, and that put Prop 50 on the ballot. Prop 50 passed in November of this last year by 64%. There were legal challenges filed, I'm sure you're very aware. But the three-panel judge ruled like 2 weeks ago, basically, that the California can use the new maps. So this doesn't significantly change things for us because Elk Grove in the old district was still in 7 and we're still in the same District 7, but the lines have changed. And so this orange outline shows the new district maps that will be in effect until the redistricting goes into effect after the 2030 census. So, any questions?
Wow.
I'm trying to be fast.
No, you did a great job. A lot of great information and yeah. Anyone have questions, comments? Looking to the right, none? Left, none?
Thank you.
Thank you for an outstanding presentation. Really appreciated it. Yeah, it was great to see.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got council comments, reports, and future agenda items.
All right, I'll start to the left. Councilmember Brewer, anything to report?
So last Thursday on the 22nd, Sacramento Public Library Authority Board met. We approved of our budget audit. Everything's nice and clean. And also I relinquished my duties as board chair and passed them on to Sacramento City Council member Katie Maple. Vice chair is now Mary Jane Lopez Taff of Citrus Heights. And that's all that I have.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
We had yesterday a kickoff for the 2025 blueprint for the Sacramento Council of Governments. Councilmember Robles attended. Thank you, Councilmember Robles, supporting that. And then sewer district meeting was canceled today. That's it. Thank you.
Excellent. Councilmember Spies?
I've got nothing to report today.
And Councilmember Robles?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm still getting used to this side of the dais. Just wanted to, without going too into it, I just want to say, there's a lot of craziness going on in our nation, especially as it pertains to immigration. And I want to say thank you to city staff for working very diligently on what we've been working on and even providing funding for the field network. And I want to say thank you, Police Chief Bobby Davis, for what you've been doing as well. Just check in on your neighbors. there's a lot that's happening. Obviously, what's happening in the state of Minnesota. This goes beyond local control of what we can do here, but just want to put that in the forefront of our minds as we're going on.
Thank you. So SAC-RT was canceled on Monday because of the point in time. A lot of the directors were out volunteering and gathering data, so that took place. And thank you to our council member Robles for your comments. It's definitely very divisive and sad and nasty out there. And, this is the time to check in with your friends and family and your neighbors and anyone who may feel that they are not seen. Please make sure you see them and acknowledge them. It's just that little bit right now, that connectedness is missing. I did have a request from Councilmember Robles for the 2x2. Typically, it's the mayor and vice mayor who sit on 2x2s when it comes to the government entities, and we treat the Wilton Rancheria as a government entity. He asked if we would consider him staying on that 2x2. So that's really up, I think, if you have an issue or if anybody else, please raise it now.
No, I don't have an issue, but do we?
Is there a process for that, or did it just happen?
Yeah, or do we need to, is there a certain issue? Do you want to create an ad hoc committee for anything, or is
No,
this
it's just the 2x2 with Wilton.
It's just the 2x2 in general for
Wilton.
For Wilton?
They meet at very odd times throughout, and sometimes very last minute. And I know that he's worked with the tribe for a while, so he wants to stay on.
Yeah.
But I don't want to keep speaking for you. Feel free to chime in.
I think you said it perfectly, so.
What is the process on that?
It's fine, you can do it right now.
Okay, so without objection?
I don't have an objection, no.
Okay, because it really was a matter for you as the vice mayor, and respect and courtesy for your role.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And obviously, we love Wilton, love the chairman, vice chairman, and happy to work with them. But they're just as good at hands with Councilmember Robles too. So
all right,
I'm fine.
Well, with that, thank you for that. And we will go ahead and adjourn the meeting. And I want to adjourn the meeting for all those lives that have been lost in Minnesota, elsewhere in the United States and in the world, on just